You are looking live.
Look at that.
David wanted to go. David, I just want to let you know that I have in front of me. I was just kind of cleaning yesterday, and not only do I have Ted Gumbart, Carl Semesco, and Pat Kerwin's phone numbers on one side of a page that you wrote, I have your starting five from whatever day it was. Terrell Hatton won the golf by 1. Joey Logano won the NASCAR race, Phoenix. And Indian Wells tennis tournament was canceled.
Okay.
The Wings beat the Lightning. And you have women's hoops in here. Baylor lost to Iowa State. You felt that was important.
Yeah, well, they were number 1, I think.
First Big 12 loss in 3 years, according to your notes, David.
There you go.
I also have a follow-up on this neighborhood being an exciting and comfortable place to live. Everybody said no. Well, it shouldn't say that. Everybody didn't say that. Some people didn't even respond. Actually, I think they all responded. They all responded and said they couldn't.
In the morning.
How the heck are you?
Yep, that's it.
Let's do this thing.
Miller
I drove, which made me happier. I didn't let anybody else behind the wheel of the car.
and Moulton.
Look at you.
By the way, this is your Teddy KGB moment. Look at you. You will not be pushed around. Every time I hear you say that, I think of Rounders.
He's cool and comfortable.
Oh, I like it. It's up to you now. It's up to you. I like it.
Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard.
Wow, wow,
Here's
wow.
Miller and Moulton.
Whatever.
You're live.
How the heck are you? Miller and Moulton, the Friday edition. Thanks so much for being with us. Hope your week is going well. Hope you got something lined up for the weekend. I mean, I can only hope. You know,
Big weekend plans. Big.
Well, you guys, I got to admit, you usually have something. I mean, an outing of some kind, even if it is just to go get something to eat. If it is you know, and I don't know if it's because you have a 6-year-old or whatever, but you're not locked into the house. Even though you have a nice house
in society, David.
Well, I mean, you are. I mean, and you're not just contributing to the local economy. You're contributing, and you are somewhat participating. So I give you credit for that because there are some
weekend
of us
in the Miller house. Big.
And by big, see, I sense sarcasm.
No, not at all. Actually, my birthday's Sunday.
Right.
So tonight, the wife and I are doing dinner.
Okay.
And then tomorrow night, my wife asked me what I want to do. Do we want to go out to dinner? And I there's not a restaurant around here with everything going on that excites me to bring a bunch of people to.
Oh, I could see that.
So I called Jimmy P's. I actually emailed them about some business stuff this week and said, by the way, last time I was there, I couldn't get a rib cap. Can you see if I can pick up 3 rib caps on Friday? And Jim emailed me back with the answer to my first question and said, there'll be 3 waiting for you on Friday.
Hot steaming deal.
So I'm having some friends over on Saturday. We're going to drink a lot of wine. We're going to eat really good steak. And that's what I want to do for my birthday. And then Sunday, my wife asked what I wanted because it is my birthday. And I said,
I want to be left alone.
No, that's not, I don't.
So opposite of Father's Day? So birthday is opposite of Father's Day.
Well, it's summer, school starting, and I have felt awful. And I'm sincere when I say this. I felt awful about all the high school seniors that didn't get to do what they were supposed to do. And my daughter is wonderful, but she has got to be sick of me by now. I mean, she has got to. It's every damn day. I'd be sick of it. So I told my wife, I said, we've got some friends. We happen to be friends, or my daughter's friends with a lot of twins. We are literally friends with 3 sets of twins.
Wow, that's
unusual. And I said, and they're all the same age. They're all in the same grade.
Man.
And I said, invite the twins over. Let the kid play on Sunday. You know what I want to watch on Sunday? I want to watch my daughter be happy. That's a happy birthday for me as an old guy. I want my daughter to play and be happy with her friends. So we're having a few couples over on Sunday, a little pool party. for the kids. It's my birthday. I'm going to make hot dogs, and they're going to be Kogels from Michigan. They're going to be spectacular. Might even make the Flint sauce for those of you from Michigan that understand what Angelo's Flint sauce is. And I'm going to let the kids swim. And the good news is when the kids are all swimming, you know where I can sit? On the couch in the living room and watch sports.
And there'll be plenty to watch, including on Sunday, Mark. It's the Indy 500. I say that as a public service announcement because outside of Indianapolis, we're like the best Indy 500 market in the country, but you do have to be aware the race is happening.
We are testing Southwest Florida's television dynamic, David.
Yes.
We are. David and I have said this. We have known this. We pay attention. I don't know if Cowherd got us paying attention more. But, Colin was the one who typically paid attention to the numbers and said, hey, I'm not talking about what I want to talk about. I pay attention to what you're watching, and I talk about what you're watching. And that's why our show is dramatically different than any national show. David and I have always felt we do this show like a national show with a local flair because you guys are from everywhere. David's from Jersey. I'm from Michigan. We all know that most of you are not from Florida. But we are a great sports market, a great television sports market. We love the Triple Crown. It'll be very interesting, David, come Labor Day weekend. Are we going to watch the Derby the way we do in May? Because we're always a top 5 Derby market. Usually
and I think we will.
Derby market.
I think we will because there'll be very little college football on.
Right.
I mean, we thought the Derby was going to have to compete with the first big Saturday of the college football season. Yeah, September 5th is not going to feel like the first big Saturday of the college football
season.
No,
it is not. And we are a big Indy 500 town.
Yep.
And that will be tested this weekend. So I'm fascinated just by the national TV numbers of how we're going to stack up like a typical year with these events being in all these different times.
Me as well. But a reminder, the Indy 500 is this Sunday. We have it for you.
Oh, yes, we do.
Live and exclusive on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. That's my announcer voice.
I may even try to find a Jim Neighbors Indiana song there and play it at some point on Sunday.
Really? With the kids and the twins running around and you're going to,
may make everybody stop.
Shock them for 3 minutes.
I may make everybody stop and stand at attention and listen to Jim Neighbors sing poorly.
Daddy, what that?
Is that? It won't be Daddy. It'll be the other adults here that are all 10, 12 years younger than I am going, what in the hell are you doing?
Imagine how they're selling this. What are we doing? Well, we're going over the old couple's house. Okay. They've got a daughter that the twins want to play with. So
they all consider us their friends. I'm sure they say our older friends when we're not around.
Absolutely, they do. Absolutely, they do.
The old parents we hang out with from time to time.
Right. Those that got a late start. All right. Yep. We hang with them. You know why? We want to know how that older demographic feels about things.
Want to see what our house is going to look like in 10 to 12 years.
Right. Want to see want to see how we're going to behave, honey, when the twins are 15. But I digress.
Like that Miller guy, we're going to have big problems in this house. That's what I'm telling you. He's drunk all the time.
479-5551 is how you can chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. That's 239-479-5551. I feel compelled to throw out the 239 now that we are streaming. Okay, well, not just streaming, but we are being simulcast on the Landry Football Network on Twitch TV. That there may be folks outside of the 239 now that are taking us in on Twitch, not just on the Miller and Moulton Twitch channel, but on the Landry Football Network Twitch channel. And so you're not from the 239. So we want to let you know, yes, you can chime in the Twitch chat room, but if you really want to freak Mark out, okay, you can do so in our normal text line, 479-5551. Millard Moulton, always streaming at millardmoulton.com.
David, I love the fact that the Twitch chat people, they are a more intimate listener than anyone else. And I don't mean to disparage the other listeners, but they start to learn some of our secrets.
Sure, because they can see us and they can hear us during the breaks.
And as Mark Charpentier points out, David, have your wife call the guy that cleaned out the garage. He can probably hang that sign.
Yes.
Because David, if you watch John Oliver, and David and I are both big fans of Last Week Tonight. John Oliver, since the pandemic has started, has been broadcasting, as he says, from a white void. It's he's just in a room and there's a white wall behind him. Well, David has been broadcasting from that same white void for months and has been threatening to decorate his corner of his studio. I do mine in front of a Murphy bed. And the Murphy bed is set up with shelves, and you can see pictures and books.
Right. It looks nice.
It looks.
It does.
I mean, it actually looks like I'm doing this for a living.
Well, it also looks like you have a nice, diversified life. You know, there are books behind you of a variety of topics. There are pictures. Oh, look at that. He has a loving family. Oh, look at that. He's well read. Oh, and that's interesting. He's got a swampy and he's got a wrestler. And so, okay, there's a little personality there as well.
Quirky.
Right.
By the way, David, I'm looking that I'm well read. It's 5 copies of Phil Seal's football magazine,
right?
The Masters Media Guide, the College Football Encyclopedia, the ESPN book, a Cosell biography, Bert's boxing list, and a Yankee book. Yeah, I'm really well read.
Well read. Just giving the impression.
David has been gifted a couple of very nicely done wooden signs by a listener. And David has had said signs for months.
Yes.
And over the weekend, he decided to put one kind of up.
It's resting comfortably.
That one behind you is not hanging, right?
No. I have not put a hammer. Right. Because I haven't figured out where the studs are, so I don't want to just start putting holes in the wall.
David, the studs are on camera. Miller and Moulton, damn it. What else do you need to know?
Oh!
Hey now. So David has 2 really nicely done wooden signs with our logo. And he has one leaning.
Right.
And
it's big and it's heavy. And at the top of it, it says, "How the heck are you?" And then it's our logo. And at the bottom, it says Miller and Moulton. All right. But it's not fully in the shot because I need to hang it about a foot and a half higher. And also it's heavy. So I'm just worried about, I got to find the right spot on the wall. I just don't want to be, So, yeah, people are making suggestions. And this one gentleman says, "Hey, have your wife call the guy who cleaned out the garage." Hey, remember, that's the guy that I think she ran off with. I mean, how else does a middle-aged woman get the garage cleaned? Okay, if not offering a little something. And I know I wasn't the one cleaning it, and I know she wasn't the one cleaning it. So,
maybe that person can hang the sign.
Right. That's funny. That's funny. But hey, it's a pandemic. Okay. And he's going to be looking for payment. And,
he could be busy.
Right.
His wife might not be letting him out of the house.
Exactly. Exactly. So the hope is during the course of the weekend, I'll be able to hang 1 or 2 signs. That's asking a lot for those of you that know me. That's a tall order. That is a tall order. Miller and Moulton on this Friday. Mark, there are lots of, I think, bigger than nooks and crannies. I think that there are
chicken nuggets,
full-blown nuggets. Actually, almost some of them. Yes, some of them may be strips. All right. But I think we have a lot to sink our teeth into on a variety of topics. We've got a minimum of 6 sports we could legitimately talk about today. A minimum of 6. All right. I do, however, want to just start. Okay. I want to dabble at first. All right. With something that came about yesterday, which I do think is that, it's that pesky reminder. It's almost like that voice in your head. It's like the person that taps you on the shoulder just when you think you're starting to feel good about yourself or about things. All of a sudden, Mark, yesterday afternoon, boom, 2 New York Mets, one a player, one a staffer. Oh, yeah, they have the coronavirus. Mets-Marlins game canceled. Likely, the Mets weekend series with the Yankees is going to be canceled. We say likely because it was just a week ago that the very same thing happened to the Cincinnati Reds, where out of the blue, I repeat, one Reds player tested positive for COVID. They didn't play 4 games. And this is worth discussing for college football, Mark. All right. You know, you and I have always been of the belief that if you get 1 or 2 cases, all right, that you take those 2 people out of the circulation
Yep.
and you move forward.
Right.
What Major League Baseball has done when people have tested positive is because, remember, the first team that had a flare-up was the Marlins. Over the course of a weekend, 1 became 4. And then they took the Marlins out of circulation. 4 became 18.
Because they played when there was 1.
Correct.
I mean, that is a very, to me, David, a very important stoppage there.
Right.
They had 1. They played. They went from 4 to
18.
18. So I understand why baseball did what they did with the Reds based on the Marlins.
And remember, then after the Marlins was the Cardinals, okay, and they had a couple, 2, 3, and then so they shut them down, and they shut them down for a week and a half.
But stop me if I'm differing from what you were thinking. Where football applies.
Here we go.
If you are going to work on the same premise that 1 could become 4, could become 14, how on Friday, if you have 1 positive test, do you play on Sunday?
Here we go.
Because that is the ultimate question.
Yep.
And David and I have said for the longest time that football is going to press on. The National Football League is going to press on. And we have thought that if 1 positive case happened, we're going to pull the 1 positive player out and we play on. What the Marlins have shown us is that might not be the way to do it. Because if 1 can become 4 and 4 can become 14, it seems rather difficult to play on a Sunday when you have 1 positive case.
Now
granted, David, these tests that they're doing at Yale and some of the other things that we're able to expedite testing, whether it's a daily basis, get results quickly, could help the scenario that we are talking about, David.
Yes. It is why I believe if I am running for the NFL, but also, and I know that this is going to cost money. I get it. All right. But these saliva tests, which reportedly are affordable, but I mean, we're going to have to do a lot of tests here if you're talking about a football team, and especially college, because you're carrying a lot more players than you are even on Sundays. But Mark, I would be curious what the medical people are saying and thinking versus what it is the football people are thinking and saying, because what we've been told, and let's face it, the experts aren't even really experts about this. They're learning about it as they go along. And then we've had so much information thrown at us that, we almost don't know what's straight anymore. And that's helped lead to why we're attacking this in so many different ways, some of which have been smart, some of which haven't. But Mark, they say what we have been told over these last 5 months is that the incubation period for the coronavirus is around 2 weeks. So that's another reason why they pull everybody out of the equation. At least this is baseball's reasoning, that the reason they don't just pull the 4 out of the equation and move forward with everybody else is that their thought is over the next 48 or so hours that it's going to multiply. And if we let them play, that give it 2 days and the whole darn team will have it. Mark, what does football do? Because this happened on a Thursday afternoon, that the 2 Mets, 1 staffer, 1 player tested positive. And the Mets are likely not going to play through the weekend based on what they did with the Reds last week, where the exact same thing happened on the exact same day, with one Reds player, and they canceled Thursday through Sunday games for the Reds. So you would think that the Mets are not going to play through the weekend. Well, in the NFL, what happens? If on Thursday or Friday, a player, one or two players, or we'll take the Mets scenario, it's a player and a staffer, test positive on a team, college or pro, what do you think they're going to do?
Cancel the game, David, or postpone the game. I do.
I don't think the NFL will.
You think they're going to play?
Yes. I think they're going to have daily testing. They've already committed now to having daily testing through September 5th. I truly believe that the NFL is going to go, listen, we can afford this. And we've got a good thing going here. We've got COVID as much under control as you can have it under control with what it is we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it. Okay, so I know we're talking about testing 3 times a week during the season. We're just going to keep testing every damn day. And to me, Mark, I think the NFL is going to handle it like the White House. I keep going back to that early example in which President Trump went somewhere on a Thursday, came back, and was going somewhere on a Friday. And basically the same people who were going with him on Air Force One on Thursday were going to board the plane on Friday. And one of them got tapped on the shoulder and said, yeah, you're positive. And literally she was like, oh, it wasn't positive yesterday. And they're like, yeah, I don't know what to tell you. But they test every day. They test every day. And so they took her out of the equation. Everybody else went on the plane and everybody else went and did what it is they had to do. And there's a part of me that thinks that that's how the NFL is going to do it.
Well, if the NFL didn't have the NFLPA, I would agree with you wholeheartedly. This is where the union will cause a problem in my estimation, David.
Really?
Because, yes, really. Because they're now at risk of not just infecting that team, but the opposition. And I don't think the union's going to allow that.
Well, I think the union's going to want them to play. And this goes back to, and hate to repeat ourselves, but we did say, going back 5 months, the one question every league has to answer before they move forward is,
and none of them ever have.
Not really.
Not one league has ever come up with a policy that is at least written down, David, that says we get a test that's positive, here's what we're doing. This has very much been NASCAR and WWE when it comes to, because Major League Baseball is the only one that has it. I mean, basketball and hockey are going along perfectly. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many times we can repeat that. We're really only talking about Major League Baseball.
But we're going to be talking about college and pro football. And so I am curious, and 479-5551 or chime in our Twitch chat room. What do you think? Like, if what just happened with the Reds last week and with the Mets yesterday, when this happens, not if it happens, when this happens to a college or pro football team late in the week on a Thursday or a Friday, when one or two people suddenly test positive, what are they going to do? Are they just going to take those one or two positive players or staffers out of the equation and move forward with everyone else? Mark, I think they're much more likely to do it on Sundays than they are on Saturdays. Because as we've talked about, who's making the calls on Sunday? Well, you got a commissioner and a players association. All right. Who's making the call on Saturdays? College presidents. Do you have faith? And even if you're a fan of the SEC or ACC, Mark, do you have faith in that president of Wake Forest who's been out there? I mean, I don't
have faith in the college presidents of having the onions to do what the NFL and Major League Baseball are going to do. If that's the way you're phrasing it ultimately.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically I'm asking if what happens with Wake Forest is what just happened yesterday with the Mets. will Wake Forest play their Saturday game in your estimation? Yes or no?
No.
And if that's the case, you can see where this season is going to be really hard to pull off.
David, yesterday at around 5:20, I sent both you and John, I forwarded the two of you a text that my son had sent me. Happened to be chatting with Seth yesterday because he was helping me out with some computer issues, and I sent it to him as well. What I'd sent to David and John was what my son had sent me, is that East Carolina University has identified a cluster of COVID-19 cases within the university's football team in Clement Hall. Related to Clement Hall, they had 10 positives with the football team. Seth retorted with an email from the vice president of students at Syracuse University that basically said the first night that kids were on campus, they had a big party in the quad at one of the dorms, and now they're looking into it. And I mean, it was written with such disdain towards these students, as if they thought the kids were going to go to college and act like they were in a senior citizen's home. I mean, I found the email a touch offensive because he talked to him like it was a dad to children and kind of scolded them, because that really works with 18-year-old and 19-year-old boys.
Especially when they're out of the house.
Pile of garbage when they're out of the house. Because you know what they're going to do to you, sir? They're going to listen. They're not listening to mom and dad, but vice chancellor, they'll listen to you. But I just kind of laughed when I looked at what's happening on college campuses. Happened at North Carolina, happened at Syracuse, happened at East Carolina. It's happening everywhere.
Now, it's the third week of August. And in theory, they knew they were going to have this spike. This was the SEC's reasoning for starting at the end of September. We're going to bring kids on campus. We're going to have a spike. Then we're going to get it under control. And then we're going to be able to start playing. Okay. But it keeps going back to the question we asked 5 months ago. What is everyone going to do when someone tests positive? The two leagues that are in a bubble are fortunate enough right now, they are literally not having anyone test positive. That's fantastic. All right. Major League Baseball, pro and college football are not in a bubble. They are having, although the NFL's really got it under control, they have right now only 5 players, Mark. 5 players that are on that COVID list. That's it. In the whole league, there's 80 times 32. I mean, that's 2,560 players, never mind staff. I mean, we're talking over 3,000 people here. Well over 3,000. They got 5 players that are on the COVID list. And that doesn't mean they have it. That could just mean they were exposed to somebody who had it, as we found out with Matthew Stafford. So 5. So right now, the NFL's been very fortunate. College is where the brush fire is. There's no question about it. But with what happened yesterday with the Mets, 1 player, 1 staffer, on a Thursday afternoon, the results come back and they test positive. The Mets are likely not going to play for 4 days, take them right through a weekend. What do you think is going to happen when this exact same thing happens to a college team and or an NFL team, for that matter? Miller and Moulton. Starting 5 is next. Thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Receiving over.
Alexa, play Fox Sports FM on TuneIn.
LeBron has shown his greatness. Kevin Durant's a better player.
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Smart speaker.
Are we cheering for idiots? What's going on?
Sounds more like a dumb speaker, am I right?
You're an idiot. Nice job.
Get Southwest Florida sports talk delivered to your speaker.
This is
Anything in your head for a poll question, David? See how ahead of the game, and I'm starting this early.
Wow, this is a segment early here. Poll question through the weekend.
If I start now, by the next break, we might have one.
Maybe.
Well, I mean, it's better than normal.
Man, that could be our new slogan. Miller or Moulton. It's better than normal. Yeah. All right. I'm thinking something that can last through the weekend. Yes. Sharpenter, yes. NFL did expand rosters for this year. They're going to basically end up with about 70 guys that they're going to be carrying around instead of what was 53 in a 6-7 person practice squad. And so NFL teams were carrying around about 60 players. They're going to be carrying around between like 69 and 72 players.
By the way,
this year.
The Tampa Bay Rays are in first place. I just
Yes,
want to
they
get
are.
that out.
Yes, they
Because
are.
They were losing yesterday and then just pounded the Yanks from the fifth inning on. I think they were down 3-2.
Yeah, they had a big, I think, fifth inning, something like that.
They took the lead. No, they were down 2-0. They took the lead in the fifth with 3 runs. They were leading 3-2. At that point, they had 1 hit, David.
Yeah. That's called making it count, Mark.
2 walks, a double brings them both in, a sac fly scores another. Because not only was I watching Rays Yankees, I had that across from Pacers and Heat, followed by Houston and OKC.
Wow. You're a better man than I am.
My daughter is beside herself.
Why?
Because she walks into the living room for lunch and there are 2 games on it all time. She hasn't put anything on that television in a month. She is relegated to her room and the computer and Netflix, and I don't give a damn. And it's going to be that way for a long time.
Although the early hockey games, I think, are pretty much done.
They are done. They are.
You'll have a few more days of the early NBA games. Through next week, I think all these first-round series get done, and then you'll probably be done with the early NBA game.
Did you see Tortorella's presser?
Yeah, he was an ass.
Yeah, well, someone asked him about life in the bubble after he lost a series 4-1.
Yeah, I don't know. You know what? I'm sorry. I'm tired, and I'm tired of Torts and Popovich and Belichick's act. I really am. What?
Of the Torch one on that one, I get what you're saying. Now that it's all over, can you explain, just what it was like in the bubble and how you did this? And he looked up at that guy like, are you effing kidding me? That's what you're asking me after a playoff series? What life was like in the bubble? Yeah, I'm done. No. No fans at higher. Oh, really? No fans at all your high school games. Well,
yep.
Okay.
And Lee is considering the same thing. No decision yet.
So why are we playing?
"27 minutes before the hour. Thanks so much for being with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels, simulcast on the Landry Football Network Twitch TV channel. You can always chime into the show via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line 479-5551, 239-479-5551.
I would suggest that all of you today change your voicemails and say something along the lines of, you've reached the phone of insert name here. We're fine. It's a category 1 storm. We deal with this all the time. Go back to your lives. Because I'm going to imagine that most of you in the next 2 days are going to take 74 phone calls, 814 Facebook messages, and a couple of tweets going, what are you guys doing for the storm?
Right.
And the answer is drinking.
Maybe buying a few extra groceries and then seeing how close it comes. I don't know what to tell you.
Through a pandemic. We're all good on food. We're all good on water. Lighten up, Francis.
And hate to say this, but you're talking ones. Maybe as of now, they're only talking about it reaching a 1. Ha! A 1.
A 1?
Call me.
You know what we call that? Thursday rain.
Yeah, you know what we call that? A scrimmage. That's what we call a 1. Give me a break. That's an inter-squad scrimmage.
We don't even allow fans at ones.
Exactly. I mean, a 1 doesn't even count in the standings as far as we're concerned. Are you serious? A 1? I digress. Time now for
Starting 5. Fox Sports Radio at foxsportsfm.com.
Mark. Who's the starting 5 brought to you by?
Brought to you by your favorite local restaurant. Get takeout tonight.
There you go. Help the local economy.
Damn right. They need it.
Yes. And you know what? I have found out. Apparently, people are not tipping well to the takeout people. A few of the places that I go to, maybe it's by restaurant, all right, but a few of our favorite takeout places, because I'm throwing money at them. I mean, I'm, Mark, acting as if I have money. I mean, that's how much we are tipping. I mean, and because of you shaming me many years ago, okay, I went
22% tipper.
I was a 22% tipper, not anymore. I mean, now I'm in the 30+% club. And now, I mean, honestly, we're just whipping out a $20 bill. We're just like handing everybody money like we have it. I mean, honestly.
We don't.
No.
Neither of us do. You
Goodness.
can see our paycheck to tell you exactly how much we're not lying. Here's a question for you before you get to the starting, and this may be the poll question today. You may have stumbled upon a poll question. What is the proper tip for takeout?
That's our poll question. Let's figure out what the answers are. But that's
I
going to be the
would
question.
love to hear from the servers of what they think they deserve. I've always thought 10% was adequate for takeout. They're not waiting on me. They're putting it in a bag. It does take time. Like I'm not denying that the restaurant person has to do something for the takeout.
And I think that you should go the Canadian 15%. All right, for takeout minimum. Here's why. Because most of us are not dining in anymore, yet these places of business and these employees, so I just think that basically what you would consider to be a bad tip, they barely got
you're right.
They barely reached the service plateau line if you were eating in the restaurant, needs to be your base tip for takeout now because but very quick story. One of the places that we get takeout from, we threw a little something at them. We threw like 20% at them. And the lady literally said we had, 70 something takeout orders yesterday. No one tipped.
Oh my God.
Yes. Not one person.
I've always been a 10%er on to go. I've done a little more. I did a little more when it was only to go, if you know what I mean. But I'm eating in restaurants twice a week.
So
I'm back to the real world almost, if you will. And we did, but I noticed last night we did Fat Cats last night. A lot of to-go orders, because I happened to be at the spot where they picked them up, if you know what I mean.
Well, the starting 5 brought to you by your favorite local restaurant. Get takeout tonight and don't 15%. Be afraid to tip.
Right. Don't be a spreader. Be a tipper.
NBA playoffs, Heater up 2 spit over Indiana, 109-100. Houston's up the same on OKC, 111-98. Both top seeds got up off the deck yesterday and bounced back in big ways. Milwaukee even things up with Orlando, winning by 15. The Lakers beat the Blazers by 23. Damian Lillard dislocates the left index finger. All right. He says he's going to play the rest of the series. So both the Milwaukee and Lakers series are tied at a game apiece. The Timberwolves won the lottery, Mark. The Timberwolves
I know.
Picking first. And
it was an 0 for 2 for Detroit teams in the lottery with a shot.
And the NBA has said, yeah, that December 1st likely start date. Yeah, we're not going to start on December 1st. In fact, we're going to try to push it back as far as we can because we want fans at the games. Translation, we're losing enough money between China and the coronavirus. We need people in the seats. NHL, 2 teams advanced last night. Islanders in 5 over Washington. They beat the Caps 4-0. Expect the Caps coach to get fired shortly. And Dallas eliminated Calgary 7-3 after trailing 3-0 6 minutes into the game. Calgary led 3-0 6 minutes into the game. Dallas scores 7 unanswered, including 5 in the second period. They win that series in 6. They're going to face Colorado next. The Islanders will face Philly if the Flyers can get past Montreal. As we mentioned last segment, one Mets player and one Mets staffer contracted the coronavirus. That postponed yesterday's Mets-Marlins game. Will likely take out the Subway Series through the course of the weekend. The Tampa Bay Rays are in first, ladies and gentlemen. They went to the Bronx and swept the Yankees 10-5 the final. The Rays are in first, and the Yankees have, well, about 6 guys on the injured list once again. Mark, Toronto swept a double dip from the Phillies, 3-2 and 9-8. Remember, these are 7-inning games. The Phillies scored 7 runs in the top of the first in the second game of the doubleheader. Toronto trailed 7-0 before they even came to bat. They came back and won that game in 7, 9-8. The Astros.
Then I really have to blame all the players who took 3-0 pitches up 7-0 after that started.
Exactly.
That's the only reason I want to point that out. This game, that Rays-Yankees game, it was 2-0 fifth inning. What did the Rays end up scoring?
10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know why? Because we score a lot of runs in baseball now.
And also because we got about 15 pitchers, and half of them don't belong in the majors. But they're there because of the coronavirus, and they're not very good. And they're not in shape. Houston scored 10, won their 8th in a row, beat Colorado 10-8. Twins 7-1 over Milwaukee. Cleveland 2-0 over Pittsburgh. Hey, the Red Sox have won 2 in a row, 7-1 over the Orioles. How about them Padres? They did something yesterday no team has ever done in the history of Major League Baseball. That's not a small feat, by the way. Major League Baseball has been going on a long time. Civil War. I mean, they've been doing this a while. The Padres did something yesterday no franchise has ever done before. They hit a grand slam in their 4th consecutive game.
I knew they hit. I was trying to figure out what it was because they had a walk-off grand slam to win, right?
Well, not yesterday, but they did during this stretch. All right. Padres 8-7 over Texas in 10. Hosmer hit the slam yesterday for San Diego. And our Cardinals daily update, they beat the Reds 5-4. They're now 7-7 on the season. They have to play 46 games over the next 38 days. Football, Ron Rivera has cancer. It's forgive me if I pronounce this wrong. It is squamous cell carcinoma located in a lymph node. It was deemed, quote, very treatable and curable. He will undergo treatment and continue to coach. They said in about 3 to 4 weeks, he'll start to feel the effects of the treatments. And, if you feel like you need to stop. They're optimistic, but Ron Rivera with cancer. Tom Brenneman was taken off of NFL games for Fox for this season. He was not fired by Fox. That should be pointed out. It looks as if Fox has essentially suspended him for the rest of the year. Fox Sports Ohio has not yet determined his future as the television voice of the Reds. All right, but Fox, Big Fox, has said Brenneman will not do NFL games this year. The Chiefs have banned headdresses and face paint. Now, as it is, they're only going to have like 20% crowds this year, but in all likelihood. But fans can no longer wear headdresses or face paint, and they're looking into whether or not they're going to allow the chop to continue. Remember, the Braves have gotten rid of the chop. All right. My guess is the Chiefs will as well. Those are the next 2 teams on the list because we think the Indians are changing their name. The Braves and the Chiefs are going to be the next 2 as to whether or not they can keep their names going forward. TCU starting quarterback Max Duggan is out indefinitely. One positive of all this coronavirus testing is they are finding some conditions in these young athletes that the athletes and their families didn't know existed. All right. And so hopefully this is going to prevent something bad happening to these young men down the road. One of them is Max Dugan, the expected starting quarterback at TCU. It's an undisclosed health condition. They think he'll be fine. They think he could even return at some point during the season. Mark, Michigan loses another top player, senior corner Ambry Thomas, a likely Friday draft pick, if you will. A likely Friday draft pick. He joins the offensive lineman from a couple days ago as saying, yeah, I'm not playing spring ball. I'm getting ready for the draft.
The other college football note, I don't know if you're going to, I don't mean to jump you if you're doing it, but you mentioned the one player there. There's also the Georgia State quarterback. And I don't know if you caught that or if I'm jumping what you're reporting on, but you got to switch off of college football.
I just went to another college football note, but yes, the Georgia State quarterback, the heart condition that the Big Ten and the Pac-12 have hung their hat on as to why it is they're not playing football, at least in the fall. All right. This Georgia State quarterback, he has it. They feel he got it from contracting the coronavirus.
Correct.
So, I mean, the Pac-12 or the Big Ten taking a lot of heat. All right. There was a young man who came down with what it is that they're talking about.
And since we've given the Big Ten a lot of heat, I do think it needs to be pointed out that Mikhail Colasurdo, I think is how you say his last name, has been diagnosed with a heart condition that's been linked to COVID-19. Just want to point that out. He's obviously not playing for Georgia State. They were pressing on to play football.
And they decided in Collier County they will not have fans at their high school football games in the fall. Lee County is still deciding whether or not they're going to have fans or not. I was told that some of the prominent people in the decision-making process in Lee County are also leaning the same direction, but the county has not officially decided that. No fans at the Collier games. I think parents should have been allowed. I think parents
totally.
I think parents and now, if you allow parents, do you then allow grandparents? I understand. I get it.
No. It's really easy. Parents.
I think parents and or siblings. Okay. And I'm an only child. So, as I like to say, I don't have the pet gene because I never had pets growing up. I'm an only child. So, I don't fully understand the sibling bond the way you with siblings do. But my gut reaction was, I get if you don't just want to have fans, but parents and siblings, I thought, should be allowed at these games. I also think the band should be allowed at the game.
Just not on the field.
Well, the band.
No one can say the band is on the field.
Well, that's true. No Stanford Cal.
Just having a little Stanford Cal fun, David.
That's all. And okay, so no fans at Collier County High School football games.
There are going to be some pissed off fathers.
Well, not only that, it's going to be a big money drain on these athletic departments.
And they're telling the parents. I mean, think about this, David. You guys can't come to the game, but what I really need you to do is, can you donate some money so we continue to have sports? You can't watch your kid play, but what I really need you to do is stroke me a check for somewhere between $100 and $500. Could you do that, please?
It would have been interesting to the folks that don't want to wear masks to go into the supermarket. Would you have worn a mask to watch your kid play sports? Because let's be honest, if they were going to allow you at the game, they were going to make you wear a mask. All right. Just think about it. Ponder, is your kid, because obviously if you don't want to wear a mask, you don't want to wear a mask. Oh, okay. All right. But if they said, well, you can watch your kid play sports, but you got to wear a mask. Oh, tough call.
And as David said, ponder that. Christian or Sam, it doesn't matter.
Miller and Moulton. We think we have a poll question. We may need help from you in terms of all of the answers to the poll question.
Upset.
Okay. There you have it. Miller and Moulton on this Friday morning. Thanks so much for being with us. Mom, I'm sorry I didn't shave. I promise I'll do it over the weekend. I wished her a happy birthday yesterday, and she said, that's really nice. Could you shave for me?
No kidding. Mom, I'm on your team there. Could you? No. You know what? During the break, why don't you take care of that? Well, you look terrible.
Well, first off, it takes more than 5 minutes to shave. Miller and Moulton.
In what world?
At mine, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to
program.
This is the Dan Patrick Show.
I don't know if we're going to see a big name opt out, and that would mean Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields at Ohio State. If you've already cemented your status as a top pick, are you going to stay? Are you going to risk this?
Boy, I'll tell you what, I didn't even have the sound on yesterday. I had that news ticker channel on.
Try to get ready for the very
I mean, MSNBC and CNN must have been talking about the Bannon story. I turned it off at 1:30 when Hoop started. But the Bannon story was every other story on those two networks. Every other story. I mean, to the point where I'm looking at it going, guys, there's other things going on you can report on. He is not work. He's not worked for the president for years.
Well,
I get that he worked for him.
Not officially, but I know what you're saying.
But I mean, this is where people on the right look at those networks and go fake news, because it was White House staffer, not former White House staffer, White House staffer. That's not right. It's incorrect.
Agreed. Here's the bigger reason why it's a turnoff. Is it a story? Absolutely. Is it a big story? Yes. And then that's all it is. Move on. There are other stories. This is where being in that bubble, okay, and at your, in theory, if you guys were still having cocktail parties, this is all you would talk about. Well, but the rest of us are going, oh, okay, wow. We know who he is. We know what his role was.
And none of us seem that. I mean, if you have a brain, how surprised are you?
Right. Now, there are other tentacles that come from it.
There are a ton, and I get all of them.
But it's not.
It was 7 times an hour they were doing this story.
Exactly, and it's not that story.
And I ended up, because you got 4 choices. You got Fox, the 2, and then BBC. I ended up watching BBC for an hour and was fascinated because they did they did 20 minutes with this guy. I think he was from India. But it was basically about the Chinese economy and where we are as an economy and what we have to do. And this was a guy, not American, talking about where our economy needs to go and what we need to do to revive our economy. I'm fascinated comparing what China has done with technology and where we have to go and why we have to work with Asia down the road and can't neglect. It was like, that was an interesting story. And I'm watching how many times I see Bannon on the other 2 networks. I'm going, geez, oh, Pete.
And by the way, Dandy Coins, I didn't say deep tentacles. I said tentacles. All right. Are there a couple of things that come off of it? Sure. Okay. But that's all it is.
By the way, Foot Fan, 2 days in a row with a collared shirt. Let's start paying attention, okay?
Hi, everyone. It's Drew Barrymore. I have a new Day 10 show.
Listen to this ad and tell me if you want to watch this show.
Each other up, be a little naughty, cry, laugh, eat.
Oh, okay. You said deep. Got it.
And then maybe cry again or eat. Let's do this. Who's with me?
The Drew Barrymore.
I will say, I think I got the thumbs up from Trump. I'm trying to remember at any point in my life if I ever gave people a thumbs up sign, if I ever used the emoji or anything like that. And in the last year, I've noticed myself sending out a couple of thumbs up emojis. I just answered Dandy Coins through the screen with a thumbs up. I think I've gotten that from just seeing video of Trump on television. That's, those things that happen through osmosis. I do think that's
what do you,
I know.
Care, man.
That's not a comb over, by the way.
Piss off on all of you right now.
That's arch. That is not a comb
I'll
over.
turn my camera off the way you assholes are acting. I just started to upset me. I got a birthday coming up. Be nicer, for Christ's sake.
Real thumbs are great.
Got this guy on Twitter that rediscovered us. We've been on the air for 2.5 years.
3. It's 3 in 2 weeks.
This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Seven minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton, thanks so much for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio. Streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live. Miller Moulton, we have a YouTube channel and we have a twitch.tv channel. Sign up for both. They are free. All right. You can even become a subscriber on Twitch TV, and you eliminates all the commercials. And, well, it's a good experience. So, if you're going to take in the show, you might as well take it in with some video involved as well through YouTube and Twitch TV. We're proud to be the morning show on the brand new Landry Football Network on Twitch TV as well, the 24/7 football channel. And coming soon, in the next couple of weeks, we'll be doing a bonus hour every day exclusively on our Twitch channels. So it's another reason to sign up. You'll get one more hour of Miller and Moulton. What was our poll question yesterday? Oh, Tom Brenneman. Okay.
Yes. And 57% to the suspend.
Right. If you were Tom Brenneman's boss, would you fire him or suspend him? And a good turnout. And 4 out of 7 of you said I would suspend him. 3 out of 7 of you said no, I'd fire him. Mark and I were split. Yeah.
I'm serious. I'm not joking. Like because I thought that fire him would win. I didn't care. I would fire him because, and in fact, I was actually wrong on what he said. He was a little more explicit. I just thought he said it was a blank city, and he kind of had more of a full sentence there. So, but Fox Football did not fire him. No. They took him off the air for the 2020 season.
Right. Now, Fox Sports Ohio has yet to make their decision. I think we all can safely assume he's not going to call any more Reds games this year. The question is, will he be calling any Reds games in 2021? My guess is he will not, but we shall see. Our poll question today is, what's the proper tip for takeout?
I put none.
Well, you also,
you're cheap.
Right. And I will say you don't normally make editorial comments in your poll question answers. So the fact that you threw a parenthesis in there, I think you're feeling it on this Friday morning. I really do.
Well, I am feeling it. I'm looking forward to the nap that I'm going to take this afternoon. I'm already fired up about that.
I got to admit, when you say something like that, you seem about 20 years older than you are. Already looking forward to the nap.
Oh, it's going to be a big fat nap, too. And I am looking forward to this nap. I got a babysitter and dinner reservations tonight with the wife. No, I am.
Okay.
I'm
all right.
But none, you're cheap. 10%, 15%. And then if you're, Daddy Big Bucks Moulton over there, 20+% on your takeout.
Yeah, we're just throwing money at people, ladies and gentlemen. We really are. My goodness. And my wife usually figures out, the tip and,
oh, no.
And
you tip, right? I mean, you.
Oh, yeah. No,
card,
I just.
It's your card and you write it on there or cash or whatever.
I try to always cash tip.
I got you. I was just worried when you brought that up that the wife was saying, David, 20% is $18.42. And I was a little worried that she was one that would write like an odd, nothing worse for the waiter than someone fills out the tip so that they can get an exact amount.
That worked. Barely.
Very Le Batard.
Barely.
Very Le Batard right there. I turned it on for 5 minutes yesterday. I did not realize that the home run was hit. I got to see it now.
I got to get water.
All right. Go get water.
Okay.
Why buy an overpriced used car when you can buy a new car for less? Brand new Kias, just $49 per month. You should be driving a Kia from Galliana. Galliana Kia. At Galliana Kia, 1/2 mile south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers. Open every day, including Sunday. Call 239-481-2600.
So, Brenneman, this was the home run was hit into the judgment-free zone. There's a sign above where the home run was hit that says judgment-free zone. And if Le Batard was all over this and I was crying, I was laughing so hard.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
When you went car shopping, you meant business. You ace vehicle history searches and test drives. Now you've got your wheels. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council. When you went car shopping, you meant business.
So, David, Levitard was all over this yesterday. We missed it. The home run was hit. There is a sign in the left field seats that says judgment-free zone. That is where the home run was hit to.
Wow.
And Levitard's like, a fiction writer couldn't come up with this. I missed that. I was like, I listened for 4 minutes. I will say he is male. I mean, I do think part of his demise is how much he hates ESPN because they went to the pandemic. They have no cameras. There's no video.
Correct.
It's awful. You can't do it on television without a picture. That's why, like, when John says put this graphic up for interviews, I understand what he's saying for the YouTube standpoint, but I don't know. I'd ask all you guys listening, when we put graphics up, is that better than watching the two of us blank stare at the screen?
I'm wondering, is there a way to add the third part to the screen and have it be the graphic to let people?
I'm trying, David, and I can't figure it out because there's I don't know.
So it's not like when we did Seth.
No, because that's another person.
Gotcha.
If I don't have them, I don't. There's two screens here that I'm still trying to figure out all this stuff with StreamYard.
Well, we understand, Dandy, that real people are best, but if we can't get them on
video,
if we can't get them on video, do you want us to just have the graphic to show who we're interviewing?
Yeah, because I read the one thing underneath when we had Donovan, Pat Donovan, WDA.
Here's what I'm wondering. You see the big MillerandMoulton.com thing?
Yeah.
What if we came up with one of those and you could fill in who it is we're talking to?
I can.
So it'd be the two of us, and then that bar would be who we're talking to.
Studios, where it's always cool and comfortable. It's up to you now. It's up to you.
The best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
As we approach a couple minutes past the hour, top of the morning to you. How the heck are you? We are Miller and Moulton on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming always, millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on our Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels, and simulcasting on the Landry Football Network. And we're very proud to be part of that 24/7 football channel exclusively on twitch.tv. You can chime in via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line at 479-5551, 239-479-5551.
Poll question today has to do with tipping. Takeout tipping. Are you cheap? Do you tip nothing? 10%, 15%, or are you daddy big bucks? Moulton's been going
for the most part.
Going yard. He's been going Padre on he's been going San Diego Padres on his tips. He's been going Grand Salami.
You know what I've been doing for the most part? I have not been even trying to figure out. I just look in the wallet and I just look, a bill kind of jumps out at you. Went and it was a $37 takeout. If I don't have a 10, okay. I'd probably just these days just throw a 10 at them. Okay. But, maybe it's this time it's a 5. But Mark, I just find myself grabbing the biggest bill that I have that isn't obscene. Then again, I don't have any money these days. So, if a $20 bill in my wallet draws attention and I'm just, boom, here you go. It's yours.
Well, I had $120 last night, and that's what my waitress got at Fat Cats. And we had a nice little conversation with her. And I just asked because I've met the owner of Fat Cats and Skinny Dogs a million times. First time I tried to call on him for sales at Fat Cats, we were at the old place and Cowherd's on in the kitchen. And I'm like, all right, he's one of us, if you know what I mean. But obviously with all the tables, and he does a really good job. So we had just a great waitress last night. And I said, how are you guys doing? And she's like, okay. She goes, okay, the takeout's good, But what she did say is that we have a lot of regulars. And if it wasn't for the regulars really taking care of us, I don't know where we'd be. And she made the point that, she wasn't trying to, because we told her she was doing a great job. And that's a death sentence to a waitress. Just so you know, when you tell a waitress or a waiter what a great job they're doing serving you, they go into the back room and start cursing you. Because that is considered in the business, that's the verbal tip. Once you're told a couple of times what a great server you are, you pretty much assume that you're going to get a 15% tip because what they did was compliment you. And you know what you want as a waiter? Money, not compliments, money.
Right.
And so when I told her, my wife said, you're such a good mood and you're so happy. And I said, look, I used to work in this industry. We don't virtual tip. And she started laughing because she knew exactly at that moment, okay, we're good. And she got 32% or whatever it was. It was a $60 tab and I threw her 20. But from takeout standpoint, but she flat out said, she goes, if it wasn't for our regulars, because that's not taken care of. A 30% tip, you may think that you're really taking care of someone. No. Really taking care of someone's a 100% tip. And that's what people have been doing. I mean, there are people who have the means. You and I doing it. It's as much as we can do.
Right.
But there are people in this market who have
money. Right.
And they're going to these places and leaving 100 here and 50 there. And she flat out said, if it wasn't for our regulars who have really taken care of us, we'd be struggling. So that's kind of where our poll question came from. Everybody's doing a lot of takeout, a lot of to-go food. And someone said to add to the tipping conversation, do you tip at a place like Subway? No, because I don't go to a place like Subway.
Well, don't be such a food snob. Answer the question. If you did.
But at Wally's Deli, I tip.
See?
Had that for breakfast yesterday.
And I will say at places like that, I usually, whatever change I'm getting, okay, and then a few ones on top of it, I throw it in the
Absolutely.
thing. So that's our poll question. Many of you with the pandemic are doing takeout these days. And so, let us know what you're tipping. Not tipping at all, 10%, 15%, 20 plus. Those are the answers. MillerandMoulton.com. That Mark Miller, the David Moulton on Twitter, and it'll stay up through the weekend. Indy 500 on Sunday, ladies and gentlemen. I know many in the 239. It's always on your docket, but you may have forgotten that this is the weekend in which it was rescheduled for. No fans, I believe, at Indy, which will be strange. I mean, it will. And it's a pretty big track. And by pretty big track, I mean a 2.5 mile oval, and they have a golf course in the middle of it. So, a pretty big place, and yet no fans. And because of it, though, here is the only good thing that has come out of the pandemic involving the Indy 500. The Indy 500 has always been blacked out in Indianapolis. If you lived locally, the only way to see the 500 was to go. Well, they lifted the blackout this year. I mean, they're not allowing any fans. And so they said, well, we're going to have to let people see it.
And if you want to talk about a source of pride for a community, it ain't the Colts. It ain't Butler basketball. It's the 500. If you're from Indianapolis or anywhere around the Indianapolis area, you have such a special place for this race. I had a friend I worked with the Atlanta Knights. Kirk's a basketball guy. I mean, that's his sport that he loves.
Right.
But the way he talks about the 500, you'd think he was an Indy fan. Another friend of mine, Greg McCall, who's over 70 years old, is a member at that golf course, David. And
nice.
We were going to go this year to the race. Like he goes, do you want to go? I got tickets in the, I can get, here's what it costs. I was going to go to the race. And he's like, you've got to come. You've got to come see this. If you've never, and he chastised me for never having gone. And it is, I'm guessing people in Louisville are the same way about the Derby. I just don't know a lot of folks from Louisville. The ones that I know are that passionate about, but I've met a ton of people from Indianapolis over the years. And the way in which that they speak about the race is unlike anything I've ever heard from others talking about a sporting event that they host, if you know what I'm saying.
There are 3 things that we have not done as a show that I would like to do before we call it a day, whenever that is. Which, I mean, heck, could be a week from Wednesday. Right. But I have wanted us to do a show from Indy, the Derby, and the Friday before Army Navy, because they have a media row set up the day before Army Navy. And the people that you get to interview are tremendous. And I mean, to have the type of conversations that you otherwise normally do not get to have. Okay, with, yes, obviously they were former players in this game at one point, but now they have gone on to become senators, leaders of business, and what have you. And so there are 3 shows that I have always wanted us to do. Okay, Friday at the Derby, essentially as the Oaks is about ready to happen. All right, and then a Friday at Indy, and or a Saturday show, even, because heading into the race on Sunday, and for us to do a show at Army Navy.
And the only one I'd add to that is I desperately want to do 3 shows from Augusta.
Well, that's true.
I've only been asking about media passes from the proper people for 10 years and still have no idea how to get them.
Well, I was going to say, I can't get them. We can't get them. We've asked.
I can't even figure out how to ask.
I know. I've asked the folks at CBS, how do we, just apply? How do we get on the list? Is there a name?
That's all I've been looking for the better part of 5 years, and I can't find it.
No, can't find it anywhere.
And I've spent time.
Speaking of which, it's going to be weird. They announced a few days ago there's going to be no patrons at Augusta.
That's right.
It's going to be in mid-November with no patrons.
What are the birds going to sound like? Who are the birds going to talk?
Well, I mean, come on. That is one of the great mysteries of life going forward this fall. What are the bird sounds going to be? Because got to be different birds in November than April. So, you got to figure this out. There's a whole new soundtrack, Mark.
David, I don't even know if
come up with
birds in Augusta.
I don't know if there are either. They got to figure this out. 479-5551, 239-479-5551. Speaking of golf, El Tigre looked like a golfer yesterday. He had the flat stick working for a short time yesterday. Switched to a new flat stick, which was huge news. Oh, my goodness. Tiger with a new putter. Well, yeah, he's 44. Yeah, I mean, sometimes come on now. I mean, I understand he's won most of his majors with that Scotty Cameron, but Jack
changed his putters like he changed shirts.
Well, Jack
was not afraid to make a change.
Well, no, when he won his last Masters there, I mean, he had that bulldozer. I mean, that thing was so big. My goodness, that was a condo.
Fred ran was so big. Monday morning and bought that sucker. That was so important.
Oh man! The Monday and Tuesday
father had that putter by the next weekend, guaranteed.
Yes. Yep. We were joking about, I've told the story a couple of weeks after Jack won in 86. I was working in northeastern Pennsylvania. Ray Floyd came to do a clinic. And, a lot of people showed up. And Floyd was even asking how many of you have bought Jack's putters, and the hands that went up, and then, Floyd 6 weeks later goes and wins the U.S. Open. 86 was the summer for the old guy there. With Jack and Raymond back to back, who at the time, I think he added them up, they were about 90 years old combined, but they won the first 2 majors of the year. But Tiger had the flat stick going yesterday, and I just hope he can play a little bit more here, because clearly he's rusty. I mean, he hasn't played enough, and I'm hoping that he'll be able to play here. I mean, we got the U.S. Open coming up in a little less than a month.
Well, and these are the playoffs. It's the money grab for the tour players. So they like them to play a lot right now. And then when you add in the Open and what's going on after, I guess fortunately for Tiger fans, the Ryder Cup being postponed to next year means that Tiger won't have to play in that.
Right.
And wear himself down as the Open and the Masters are still ahead of us.
And also, let's be honest here. Does Tiger want to play the FedEx Cup? Not really. I mean, come on. He doesn't need the money. And if you think the FedEx Cup means something to Tiger at this stage of his career, I think you're smoking something. I really do. Now, last year, Tiger hadn't won yet. I mean, a year ago at this time, Tiger still in his comeback. He was still trying to win. He had knocked on the door a few times. And so he was playing the FedEx Cup, trying to, show his worth for the Ryder Cup, but also he was trying to get a W. And so, you could argue that, it's why I think he wore himself out heading up to the Ryder Cup last year. And then when he won the Tour Championship the week before it, we saw the reaction, or 2 years ago. So but I'm glad he's going to play. It just, once again, he's only got so much golf in him. I want it to be, used wisely, but okay, he's going to put a little stretch together here. So I think, Mark, he has a chance to be in some form for the Open. Whereas anybody who thought Tiger was going to play well at the PGA, I mean, I'm sorry, that's a pipe dream. It's 44-year-old Tiger. This is a 24-year-old Tiger. I mean, you can't play 4 competitive rounds of golf in 5 months and think you're going to show up at the PGA and play. I'm sorry. Come on now. Never mind the fact it's 60 degrees and he's got a bad back and old bones.
Well, there you go. I mean, that was the thing. The weather in San Francisco is not the type of weather that, look at, Tiger is going to be hard pressed to win a British going forward and contend. You get the bad weather. He's not Watson, who just seems to be ageless at that tournament. Yeah, maybe if they're at St. Andrews when you can hit it everywhere.
Or he gets a good weather week. No, Mark, you're pointing out that for Tiger going forward, location, because if it's played in the Bay Area, well, that's not good for Tiger. That's 65 and foggy. I mean, you saw it at Pebble Beach even last year when he made the cut, but he had trouble warming up. He had trouble getting loose during rounds.
He says as much.
Yes.
I mean, he tells you flat out, it's cool. It's damp. And, I guess this is where I kind of look at my dad. My dad had a lot of back surgeries and played a lot of golf. And I know just from, being his playing partner for all those years, when it's cold out, it would take him 4 holes to even get comfortable. And I kind of look at that when you see, whether it was Couples or whether it was Tiger, these guys with the bad backs, the cold weather doesn't work. It just doesn't work. They don't move the same way. They don't feel the same way.
There was a great Tiger story that got told coming out of the U.S. Amateur, though, in which because they were talking about, hey, in amateur golf, can you intimidate somebody nowadays? I mean, the players are better at a younger age and they've played a lot more. And, also they all seem to know one another, whether it's through the junior circuit or the college or what have you. And can you really intimidate somebody anymore? And one of the guys said, well, let me tell you about playing Tiger as an amateur. And yeah, we all knew who he was and what have you. But he said, the thing about Tiger is Tiger showed up at the tee at the last possible moment. This wasn't Lee and Jack on the tee before the playoff at Marion, where Lee had enough time to go in his golf bag and throw the fake rubber snake at Jack to loosen things up. And they're telling jokes with the crowd for 10 minutes. He goes, Tiger would show up within a minute of when they would announce us. And, as a golfer, you want to, go over, shake the other guy's hand and what have you. He goes, well, Tiger's already in the zone. And that's where you got he looked through you. And this guy said, I'm feeling good. I'm playing great. I'm feeling good. I know who he is. And yeah, this is going to be tough, but let's go. And he goes, and Tiger, first off, he goes, he showed up so late. I was worried he was going to miss his tee time. I start worrying about him. And then he shows up at the last possible moment and I extend my hand and he goes, and Tiger just looked right through me. Okay. I think Tiger had to ask somebody on the 4th hole my name. I mean, that's how much he wasn't paying attention to me. All right. And the golfer said, for a couple of holes, I had to get it out of my head and be like, hey, just worry about yourself. All right. Get your head in the game here. So Just one of the stories coming out. 44-year-old Tiger, though, and he rolled a few yesterday, made a few putts.
And we should get him this afternoon because he had a morning round yesterday. So we should be able to see a little more Tiger if when it comes on at 3 o'clock, because he was long done. In fact, most of the scores were early yesterday. They're throwing darts. I will say the players obviously love playing without crowds. David, the scores have been tremendous.
They have.
I mean, guys aren't falling apart. Typically, we're not seeing the Sunday 76s out of a guy that's been around the leaderboard, because you think about it, and I know we all know Augusta, and we think about whether it's Norman or whomever, but when you see a guy in a tournament like this character that just won, the guy that was, shot 61-63 on the weekend, that we hadn't really ever heard of. I don't know if they pull that off when there are crowds there. I don't. But they might.
Well, the other thing that played into his lap, if you will, that we've talked about is most of the guys on tour have said that, hey, the pace of play is better without crowds. We're not waiting for crowds to die down. We're not backing away from any shots. We're just playing. We're out playing it like a practice round. And if you remember, I don't know how many people watched last week, so he needs to par 18 to win. 18 was a tough hole. The likelihood is, even though he had a one-shot lead, that the guy who was a hole behind him, if he didn't birdie 17, it's tough to count on birdie and 18 to tie. And so he needs to, and he's got a 4 or 5 iron in. He's got like 212 yards or something in, and he hit his shot. It was kind of like that U.S. Amateur that we were commenting about, where the kid hit the great approach into the par 5, and the other guy hit his shot 32 seconds after, the great shot from his opponent. He was ready to go. He walked up and he just hit it. Biggest shot of his life. He was ready to go and he just hit it.
Might have wanted to take a little more time for that one.
But Mark, here was this guy with a huge shot. If he puts it on the green, he's likely going to win a tournament, $2 million, a 3-year exemption, the whole deal. And he just grabbed that 5 iron, walked right up and striped it. Didn't take any time at all. Boom. And you're right. I think if there's 30,000 people walking the course and what have you, that there's just a little more pressure there. And usually people, don't keep their normal pace in any sport when there's pressure.
And we go back, Morikawa, his 20-foot putt that he makes on top of Justin Thomas to force the playoff, and Morikawa said it. It would have been 2 minutes before I could have even putted that ball. And think about Morikawa at the PGA. Think of the roar that was at 15 or 16, the par 4 that he nearly 16 that he drove it 3 feet from the hole or 5 feet from the hole. That deserved a roar.
Well, but also think now, granted, in a way, we as fans were denied what would have been. I mean, the golf was sensational. At one point early in the back 9, you had a 7-way tie for the lead. But think about what that course would have sounded like with that leaderboard. I mean, a 7-way tie for the lead when all the leaders are on the back 9. I mean, it would have been absolute a buzz. And would it have continued to be as good as it was if there were 30 or 40,000 of us? I mean, we'll never know, but our gut feeling is it wouldn't have.
Right. I don't think it would have. David, one of the things that I've been meaning to ask you, and I want you to pay attention this year. You have 41 games you're scheduled to work.
Right.
Well, no, I'm being very serious when I say this. Scheduled to work, because we don't know. But you and I have talked about this. It doesn't matter the league. It doesn't matter the sport. There are certain times when you walk into a venue hours before the game is being played, that maybe it's built up in our own heads as announcers, David, but there is a feeling, a vibe, an energy inside of a building or a venue hours before the game, because the moment is that big. And literally, I've had my hair stand up in my arms walking in buildings on certain nights, and I'm like, ooh. I mean, I knew it was a game 5 or whatever it is, but ooh, my body felt that there's an energy in this building. And without fans and without the staff that's normally there, will these venues have that buzz. When you go to Georgia, Alabama, where you know you would have felt it with 100,000 people coming to the game, will the venue still feel like a big-time event without crowds? And I'm fascinated to find out this year from you if it indeed does.
And or the places that are trying to have 20 to 25% will it look, quite frankly, will these 100,000 seat cathedrals looking like the New Mexico Bowl, will they have the atmosphere of the New Mexico Bowl, or will they somehow, some way be able to make you feel as if, hey, this is a big game? All right. I'll take note. I'll do my R&D, Mark. I can do that for you. I mean, we ask a lot of our listeners, and for those that are catching us for the first time on the Landry Football Network, you are our research and development. I mean, we don't have
a lot of budget.
Right. And by not a lot, we mean
zero.
None. So you're our R&D. So every now and then, the least the two of us could do is we could be your R&D. I will try, Mark. I will try. 25 minutes past the hour, Miller and Moulton. Thanks so much for being with us on this Friday edition on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
This is The Herd with Colin Cowherd.
Start looking at your three. You know, Kyle Lowry's taking a lot of heat because he doesn't deliver in the clutch.
Okay. We'll look into that.
Kuzma, he's having his worst year, 12.5 a game, 30% from.
She was hot, Steve. I'm just telling you, as a kid that played golf, Jan Stevenson was hot. And I do laugh because the golf pros have a line. We had a younger female golf pro at Estero. She's now somewhere else. Good kid. And she's average looks. And the golf pros do this. Yeah. Oh, she's a 6, but she's a golf course 10. Because there are not a lot of good-looking women at golf courses. And Jan Stevenson was a golf course 14.
Wait, what? Yeah. So whatever that Hyundai, Kia, Toyota, Nissan, or Honda was worth 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago is exactly what it'll be worth now, but only at Naples Nissan. Ford, Dodge, Chrysler, Chevy. Yep, we'll take those too. Let's see here. A brand new Nissan or that old 2012 you're driving now that needs new tires. Bluetooth, no Bluetooth. Backup camera, no backup camera. Come on, it's a no-brainer, folks. Visit NaplesNissan.com for full details or come see us on
King Gustav III of Sweden is one ugly dude, in case anybody was wondering.
So the money doesn't make him look better looking?
This, I literally think he went to this picture almost looks like a caricature. Like he said, make my eyes bigger, please.
Right now we have 90 colors of Cortec in stock, ready to go pick up, put down as soon as you want it. Everything from starting at $299 on up with lifetime warranty.
And it's not just the many colors of Cortec that you have. You also have other Cortec products as well.
We also carry the Cortec stone product. Looks like tile, looks like stone, but it's Cortec, so you get the softness, quietness, and the easy installation to go with it. We also have Cortec wood, look of wood, real wood, but with a more stable core for Southwest Florida's humidity.
If you haven't been to the Floormeisters, you really owe it to yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, right next to Costco, or go online, floormeisters.com. That's floormeisters.com.
Across the nation, America is moving forward, finding our footing, getting back on our feet. Life continues to open up.
Ooh.
Businesses are getting back to business, and we are too. We know you rely on the Good Feet store to be there when you need us. We're open.
Today would have been Jack Buck's birthday, David.
Personally fit arch supports are designed to help alleviate, even eliminate.
He would have been, what, about 95?
I don't know. I just kind of saw it going through quickly. I'll tell you in a second.
Customers, associates, and community.
I completely forgot about doing this. So
we've implemented new measures, procedures, and precautions, keeping your health and safety in the forefront. The Good Feet store is lending a hand to help America get back on its feet. And just as we have for a quarter century, we're helping to improve the quality of people's lives, 2 feet at a time.
Is foot pain making your life miserable? Call 552-FEET or visit us in Naples or our newest store in Fort Myers.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
Dan Martineau here, owner of D.R. Martineau Roofing of Southwest Florida. I've been repairing roofs for 27 years. We operate with integrity, knowledge, and service. Google DRM Roofing or call 239-332-1441.
License number CCC 1326954.
For professional roofing, the name you need to know is D.R. Martineau.
No matter where you're voting, with Showboat US, you're covered.
I have a mint chocolate bar here.
Yeah.
Yep. No sugar.
You like your
high
mint. You are
high
a
in
big fan of
protein.
mint.
Mhm.
I have a mint plant in my backyard.
Love Thin Mints. Can't have them anymore. Love them.
For more information, or visit TowboatUSCapeCoral.com. With Towboat US, you're never stuck on the water.
I'm a busy person.
Catch the show anytime. Check out MillerandMoulton.com and subscribe to the daily podcasts. Here we go. Now back to Miller and Moulton. This is Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Thirty minutes past the hour, halfway home on this Friday edition of Miller and Moulton. Thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels, and simulcast these days on the Landry Football Network, a 24/7 channel exclusively on Twitch.tv. You can chime in via the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, 239-479-5551, 479-5551. In our first hour, we just threw out there, if what happens to the Mets yesterday happens to a college or pro football team, how do you think it's going to be handled? And if you don't know what happened to the Mets yesterday, well, they found out one player and one staffer tested positive for the coronavirus. So they canceled yesterday's Marlins game. They've already canceled today's Mets-Yankees game. The expectation is they will not allow the Mets to play through the weekend because last week at this time, a Cincinnati Reds player tested positive, and they didn't let the Reds play for 4 days. And since baseball and football have the one thing in common, which is they are not exclusively in a bubble like the NBA and the NHL. So there's a stronger likelihood that this sort of thing is going to happen to football as it is happening in baseball. It's not rampant. It's just going to, hopefully just be random. But what do you think they're going to do? Do you think, because in a case like this, you miss a weekend series, even in a 60-game season, that you can make up. That's not the biggest thing in the world. You miss a football game.
My first thought when you brought this up, David, was let's just use the Mets example. They're not going to play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but they're going to play Monday. That's kind of what we've been doing.
Right. That's the thought, because that's what happened to the Reds.
Right. So I'm going to use that as my example.
Okay.
So we test on Thursday. The Jets have 2 positive cases. Do we just move their game to Monday instead of Sunday? Because you cannot, and I know what you're speaking of, but you can't, the buys don't work that way. Everybody doesn't have the same bye week. You're in a spot now. Where do you make this game up?
Remember, in the NFL, they're planning on playing a full season. Each team has a bye week. It's tough to get teams to have bye weeks to match up, though. And there is 1 week in between the championship games and the Super Bowl. So to keep it on its normal schedule, in theory, they've got 1 to 2 weeks that they could float games, if you will. Now, the NFL has said they've got 3 weeks they can float the Super Bowl. They feel they need to have the Super Bowl in February. It's scheduled for the first Sunday in February. They've got 3 more Sundays. So in the back of their minds, they know, hey, if we have to, we've got a little bit of play. In college, what have they done? Most of the Power 5 conferences that are playing, they have scheduled everybody to have a bye week in the middle of their season. The SEC has scheduled an off week in between the last regularly scheduled game and their conference championship game. Their thought is that if we need to make up a game or games, we can do it on Saturday, December 12th. We left it open. We don't have any games scheduled. And that's what I'm wondering. But in football, I think it's a bigger decision. You can't play double headers in football. You know what I mean?
They didn't adjust the schedule and add a week and give everybody a second bye week, if you know what I mean, which is something that I thought may happen, to give themselves a built-in week where maybe everybody week 14 has a bye week and they just said, hey.
And you know why they didn't.
What's that?
And you know why they didn't. TV. I mean, the why? I mean, let's be brutally honest. Why are they playing these games? For the TV money in both Saturdays and Sundays. So they're not going to schedule everybody to be off on a Saturday or a Sunday, because the networks are looking at them going, kind of defeats the purpose here. We're doing this to play football and to televise it. We need some games.
I mean, not to tie in a bunch of stuff, David, but obviously we reported earlier in the show that Collier County's not going to have fans at high school football games. Someone needs to explain to me then why we're playing high school football.
Well, for the kids.
Okay.
Well,
I know, but if all right, David, if it's it just seems this is a big stretch. One, we're just putting them in school. That's a stretch enough. But two, we're going to let them play football, and we're saying that's safe, but having their parents watch them isn't. I am, David, this is a really interesting look, to say the least.
Well, I can't imagine it was well received yesterday in Collier County, because I am assuming, and if I'm wrong or we're wrong, please point it out to us, we're assuming no fans means that parents can't go. And I thought they were at least going to make allowances for parents and siblings. And you'd have to prove it with identification. And I figured they were going to make everyone wear masks, and they were going to basically every family was going to have its own little section that they could sit at. And that's how they were going to do it. But they've gone with no fans whatsoever, which gets us to an even bigger topic. And we've talked about it a lot in the college ranks, but we brought it up for the first time a week ago in the high school ranks, not just in Southwest Florida, but in other communities. Could this financially be such a crusher, Mark, that going forward, school districts essentially say, we can't pay for sports. We don't have enough money for school. That sports are somehow going to be privatized.
And you and I have been talking about this for a decade. I mean, David and I literally have had this conversation off air for at least 10 years. And we'd always cited the liability of high school football as the reason for it.
Right.
We simply said with the concussions, when the whole thing started with the concussion suits in hockey and football, and then, David and I just kind of looked at one another one day, and I don't think we ever did it on air, and just said,
we did one time, I know, at the height of concussions was going to bring an end to football. Okay. And we said, well, if this is the case, because who was it that we had on? Somebody with like a football federation who said a big issue going forward is going to be local school districts are not going to be able to get insurance to play football. Therefore, what are they going to do? And we were talking about, is the NFL almost going to have to underwrite it? Because in theory, if you don't have high school football, then you don't have college. Well, then you don't have football players, and you don't have a league. So, and then we got into, is the money going to have to come from outside of local taxpayers and school districts to keep sports afloat?
And we always thought that it was going to be the liability from concussions. That was kind of where David and I were steering this boat. And the boat just took a left turn. Because now with COVID, literally in the article in the Naples Daily News, there's a couple sentences here that say revenue from high school. Well, we told you all before, we know this, we all know this, but revenue from high school football ticket sales provide the bulk of athletic budgets for Collier County public schools. Well, without fans, where's the revenue coming from? Because if you're having football, theoretically, we're having all the fall sports. We're playing golf. We're playing volleyball. And I don't know what the fall sports are because every state's different. But you get my point. So how are we going to afford sports this year?
Well, and obviously we're going to play them. No, this is not like Stanford where they announced we're going to drop 11 sports. That's not going to happen in high school, at least not this year. If they do something, they're going to do it for the following school year, in my opinion. But it is going to, I think, bring about some hard discussions, not just in our community, Mark, but in a lot of communities. Okay, because everybody's going to have a budget shortfall in 2020. I mean, basically, you name it, you're going to have a budget shortfall. So then, and it's tough to make that up in any occupation industry, but it's really hard to make it up with school districts. I mean, because the only way to make it up is what? Ask the taxpayers for more money.
And I don't know about this, but any place I've ever lived in my life, including communities that actually cared about their schools, unlike Southwest Florida, where we don't give a damn, nobody wants to pay more taxes to support schools. Nobody. They don't pass.
And so, and also you could see where maybe going forward, just anyway, you could see where somebody who likes sports even could be on a school board and go, I don't know if we should be in the business of sports anymore. Is there a way to privatize this? We've privatized, other parts of what we used to do. I mean, in some areas they privatize busing, and you know what I'm getting at is, and you could see where a school district, maybe not ours, but you could see where a school district would go, I don't know if we can afford to be in the business of sports going forward. And this is what we've talked about in college. If you are the NCAA, first off, I mean, let's, not to sound all doom and gloom here, but if you are of the belief, as Miller and Moulton are, that the big boys are going to take their ball and break away from the NCAA at some point before this decade is over, well, then what is the purpose of the NCAA? If you really think about it, the NCAA holds events. That's what they do. They officiate and they hold events. I mean, they're like a glorified wedding planner. If you really think about it. No. I mean, they are.
I'm just sorry. I'm seeing Mark Emmert with the pad and following the bride around as she's shouting orders at him. And I think that would be appropriate for a lot of us to watch.
But they are. And their big revenue thing is March Madness. Okay, well, if the big boys break away from the NCAA to do their own thing, then Turner and CBS are not going to be making that contractual agreement with Indianapolis. They're going to be making it separately with the big boys like they do with football. At which point, there is no NCAA. There is no wedding planner for all of the Olympic sports, the non-revenue generating sports. So now it's up to the big boys on their own to continue to subsidize all those other sports. Do you think they'll continue to do it? Stanford just dropped 11 sports. It's the best athletic department in the country. They have a $28 billion endowment. They don't want to play 11 sports now that they have literally won 23 Olympic medals from in their history. Stanford has dropped 11 sports. You really think the big boys are going to continue to finance? If you know anybody in men's collegiate tennis, ask them how 2020 is going. Programs are being dropped like they're the plague. And, last decade it was wrestling that got dropped by 100 schools. I mean, these other sports are in real danger. And we have always said if we had an economic catastrophe, disaster, if we had something where for one moment in time the money stopped flowing, college sports was going to change dramatically. Well, we're damn near there.
And I'm waiting for somebody, because it's coming. There's going to be some sort of lawsuit filed for people wanting money back from the Big Ten network in their cable bill. It's coming. There have been the Clay Travises of the world that have been out there on Twitter going, hey, these cable companies are going to give us a refund for all the sports we're paying for that we're not getting. And I bring this up because the Big Ten network is funding the Big Ten. Without that check, they're done.
Translation, Fox is funding the Big Ten because they own over half the network.
Bingo.
Miller and Moulton. Today was the day when, coming up, our poll question, millerandmoulton.com, that Mark Miller, the David Moulton. All right. What do you tip for takeout? Nothing. And there are some of you that don't admit it. Admit it. For whatever reason, you don't view it's worth a little something something. 10%, 15%, or 20+%. Those are your four choices. You'll be able to vote through the weekend. millerandmoulton.com, that Mark Miller, the David Moulton on Twitter. Today was the day when next, and just keep listening just to find out who it's sponsored by here on Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
I understand you're handling a guy with kid gloves, but Zion hadn't played in a week, and he looks 10 pounds heavier. The fear with him is he's got the fat gene. He doesn't work out for a week, and suddenly, damn, he put that 15 pounds back up, right? They're telling you this guy is Fragile Fred. They're legitimately concerned that he's going to break down.
The Rock made $90 million last year as an actor. $90 million. He was the highest paid actor for the second year in a row. He made $89.4 million.
Hey, there aren't a whole lot of people who produce movies these days in which everybody is very confident. Oh, he's in the movie. It'll sell.
No, I just, that,
yeah.
I had no idea. No idea.
And we work very hard every day to meet that goal. Kobe is who we are. And cool is what we do. But we also know we're nothing.
The late Chris Schenkel was born today in 1923, and Jack Buck was born a year later. How about that, David?
So it would have been 96.
And Schenkel would have been 97.
Wow.
The most trusted name in the business since 1949, serving local Southwest Florida families for almost 70 years.
Summer clearance event going on now at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Lowest prices ever on over 1,500 new and certified pre-owned vehicles. All new Jeep Gladiator Overland lease, $399 per month. Loaded luxury.
And the Gambler.
Limited lease, $329 per month. New Ram Bighorn Crew Cab lease, $319 per month. That's right. Award-winning Ram trucks, $319 per month. Plus at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, you can drive payment-free for 3 months, interest-free for 6 years, and worry-free up to 100,000 miles. And our parts service and body shop are open to serve you. Summer clearance event featuring Ram Bighorn Crew Cabs for $319 per month at Galliana Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, 1/2 mile south of Daniels Parkway on US 41 in Fort Myers. Open every day, including Sunday. Call 239-481-2600. GallianaCars.com. 42 month leases, 10,000 miles per year, $32.94 due at signing plus tax title, 0 security deposit, $13.88 per month per 1,000 bars for 72 months at 0% APR with 0 down. Lender approval offers don't combine.
Pool need a checkup? Call the doctor, the Pool Doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. Clients love their salt system for silky smooth water, less maintenance, and they never buy chlorine. If you want the ultimate, we can add a BioShield for UV water disinfection. We're a family company, and for over 40 years, we've been doing business right.
The prescription is the Pool Doctor for award-winning pool service, repairs, and unheard of $39 diagnostic calls. That's mypooldoctor.com or 239-574-1133. State certified CPC 057088.
Hi, everyone. It's me, Drew Barry.
Hey, Drew.
A lot has changed this year. And
How
that's
are you,
why
Drew?
I want to do more when our new daytime show premieres. More meaning.
How long do you think Drew's daytime show lasts? Does it see year 3?
Wait, who?
Drew Barrymore. This commercial. This is the most annoying ad in the world. She, like, this makes me, not that we're the audience for a Drew Barrymore afternoon show, but this promo literally makes me not want to watch it. She's so annoying.
Well,
do you think it sees year 3?
It's just like the Western bacon cheeseburger.
Oh, that's a great. That's the perfect.
Right. Like if I put the
Here's
over
the one-
at 2.5. Now, if you get a season 2 one, they always do.
Well,
Season
one,
8.
the reason why it has a chance to see year 2 is because of who she is and her connections. She will probably be able to get
great guests,
a decent guest list. Also, there are going to be a lot less people going on Ellen, who used to go on it. So some of these other shows may start getting guests that they normally didn't get.
And then we had a fluffy omelet full of melted cheese, crispy bacon.
I've never had my wife text me this much during a show. That's like the second text she sent me, because yesterday she let me know that the HD radio wasn't working, and she thought like there was an HD subscription. I'm like, there's no HD subscription. You have HD radio in your car. They can't take that away from you. But we weren't on HD 92.5. And she told me that yesterday. So literally, I get a text today during the show who says to me, he says, been listening and tuning while away driving around today and actually missed the HD radio channel. And I'm like, and then Eve, at the same time, Eve texts me, HD's working. And he goes, no, that was a couple days ago. It's working today. I'm like, oh, great.
You're live.
We're back on HD.
Wait for it. 11 minutes before the hour, Miller and Moulton on this Screaming Friday. How the heck are you? Hope your week's gone well, and hope you got something planned for the weekend, something fun that'll, just have you start next week, maybe in a little better mood than you have been starting weeks on a Monday. 479-5551 is how you can chime in on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, 239-479-5551. Without further ado, time for...
Miller and Moulton's Today Was the Day When, giving you the history of today's date so you're a beacon of useless knowledge around the office.
Useless, but a lot of fun to talk about.
This is Today Was the Day When, Fox Sports Radio at foxsportsfm.com.
And this is for everybody in the radio industry, brought to you by Gulf Coast Dodge.
Nice. Well played.
We start in 1914 today, where a 21-year-old Walter Hagen holds off amateur Chick Evans by one stroke to win his first of 2 U.S. Opens and 11 major championships. 1926, White Sox pitcher Ted Lyons no-hits the Red Sox. 6-0. That's really not the important part. The game took 67 minutes, David.
Oh, my goodness. It's just, well, that's back in the day they left the glove on the field. You just played with the other guy's glove. I mean, so you just ran out of the dugout. The equipment was already waiting for you.
David, no commercial breaks.
No.
Not one.
And I'm also guessing they didn't get 9 warm-up pitches either. That's another thing that can go away. You don't need that many pitches. Let's go. Come on now.
Got to get the commercials in. 31, Babe becomes the first to get to 600 as the Yankees defeat the St. Louis Browns 11-7. 1948, the Indians' 47-inning scoreless streak is broken as Bob Lemon yields a home run in a 3-2 loss to the White Sox. 47 innings scoreless. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's 5+ games.
The next year, this is one of my favorite baseball stories I've ever read, and I've never seen this before. The A's, Philadelphia style, had to forfeit a game when the fans riot. This is when Philly became Philly, apparently. 1949, David. The fans rioted over a trapped line drive by Rich Ashburn. With the Giants leading 4-2, they were declared the winners. That's long before they were throwing snowballs at Santa.
You got that right. And lighting Santa on fire.
Happy birthday, Hawaii. They became our 50th state today in 1959.
Okay. So Hawaii's only 61 years old?
There you have it.
Looks pretty good for 61, don't you think?
It really does. It's aged well.
Yep.
Rick and Paul Ruschel become the first brothers to pitch a combined shutout today in 1975.
Ruschel. The Ruschels. Rick Ruschel.
Boy, they were heavy and ugly, and I had 67 baseball cards of each of them.
First
they
of
were
all,
in every pack.
How could you not love the Ruschels? Because, like what you're saying, they were portly. They were Ed Fiore. They were Steve Melnick. Okay, and they were pitching. Rick Ruschel's the All-Star Game starter. If you ever see the Bo Jackson All-Star Game home run highlight, when Boggs and Bo lead off the All-Star Game with home runs, they hit them off Rick Ruschel, the Giants.
1976, Al Bunbury, just because I loved his name, hits the 17th inside the park in Oriole history. And it was today in 1987 that Dirty Dancing opened in the U.S. I'm guessing your wife loves that movie.
Oh, please. That's one of those. If it's on TV, that's it.
And I told you, Lake Lure I was just at, they filmed part of it. And the one interesting thing was that they explained in this little tour we did, it was done in November. So every morning, the staff of the film crew would have to, because it had to appear in summer, would paint all the grass and all of the trees green.
Well, and think about how cold those water scenes had to be.
Well, the scene where he's holding her up in the water, it was November. They both nearly had
hypothermia
because of the cold, and the director wanted to shoot it one more time, and they both flat out refused and said, no, we're done.
Right. Hope it's good enough.
If you were born today, you share your birthday with a lot of really cool people. Count Basie, born today in 1904. Fritz Freeling, born in 1905. If you watch cartoons, you know who that is. That's the animator that you saw at the end of every Warner Brothers cartoon. The great Chris Schenkel and Jack Buck, born a year apart. Schenkel in 23 and Jack Buck in 24.
Listen, I could go on about Chris Schenkel because everybody remembers him for bowling. He was the voice of college football on ABC before Keith Jackson. There are some of the biggest early games in college football history. The Arkansas-Texas game of the century in 69, Nebraska-Oklahoma 71 game, the great Sugar Bowl between Alabama and Notre Dame, the 73 Sugar Bowl that decided one of the two national championships that year. That was the last game he did as the voice of college football. Keith replaced him the next year.
He's the first national broadcaster I remember.
And the funny thing was,
Gowdy and Schenkel are the ones in my head that I remember as like the first two guys.
And Schenkel was remembered most for bowling. And there was a thing called the Schenkel Jinx because he had all these other assignments. And Schenkel, for the longest time, never called a 300 game. They all happened when he was away on assignment.
Wilt Chamberlain, born today in 1936. Kenny Rogers, the gambler, born in 38. Two-time Heisman Trophy winner Archie Griffin is celebrating his 66th birthday today. Kim Cattrall, who was in Porky's and Sex and the City, is 64. Jim McMahon is 61. And B.J. Upton is 36. And that is, today was the day when, this August 21st.
Wow, BJ, in theory, could still be playing.
I know. I've been getting another streaming service that's out there that Kim Cattrall's in a show. Then the trailers are hilarious that I've seen a few times. Some British TV show that she's in now.
Well, they had a script for Sex and the City 3, and she put the kibosh to it.
Thank God.
She said,
the movies were not good. The show was funny. I loved that show. I thought that show was hysterical.
Mark, the object of the movies is not to be good. They're to sell.
Oh, okay? I know.
And for the audience that watched Sex and the City, if they made a Sex and the City 3, would that audience go see it?
I don't think so. I think they'd wait for it to come on HBO.
Yeah. Okay.
Or Netflix or whatever the case may be.
Here's why I respect her, though. Okay. Because she put the kibosh to Sex and the City 3 because she basically said, I hate the three of you. Okay. And especially Sarah Jessica Parker. Okay. You're a phony. You're a fraud. I am sick and tired of the three of you, especially you. And I want nothing to do with you.
Really?
That's why I'm a big Kim Cattrall fan. Because
I did not know that. Because you're a very anti Sarah Jessica Parker, Matthew Broderick.
I'm fine with her. He should be in jail. But I mean, because he killed the guy. And he didn't even do the amount of time Dante Stallworth did. Don't
There
get me.
you have it. More on Kim Cattrall than I ever thought we would get on Miller and Moulton. Holy cow.
Yeah. Chris Schenkel and Kim Cattrall. Get that with your morning show.
I don't even know where we go next.
It's that time again to hear from our good friend, Dave Meister, owner of the Floor Meisters in Naples. And we love talking to Dave. We know that when he calls, something special is going on at Floor Meisters. Dave.
No, oh, you think because Foot Fan, that was McKay with the Israeli athletes more than anything.
Yeah, that was Jim McKay.
Truckloads coming to beat the tariff increase, and we're going to guarantee a freeze of the prices on all our in-stock Cortec. We're not going to go up 50 cents a square foot, and we're going to save it for our customers.
So when it comes to Cortec, it's amazing.
Boss told us this morning we're working tomorrow.
We now have 100 colors for you to choose from, all ready to be installed.
Yes, and we stock 100 colors of Cortex.
If you haven't been to the floor,
When I'm over on the other thing, I
yourself to visit the store. 6281 Naples Boulevard, next to Costco.
Killed 2 people over in, I think it was England.
That's
It's over in Europe. And they're pretty sure he was drunk.
You're covered by the world's largest towing fleet with over
So that's where the Succession piece came from. Sorry.
U.S. companies in Charlotte, Lee, and Collier counties are here to help 24/7, 365 days a year. Inland, Toleco, and out 75 nautical miles. And new membership pricing starts as low as
Ireland. There you go, David.
It was Ireland? Okay.
I don't even know this story. I mean, other than you telling me, I don't even remember it.
I think it was only a handful of years after Bueller. It was pretty early in his career in life. I don't even know if he was with her yet.
Danger.
Recklessness, chaos, police, injury.
Death.
Safe driving means.
Got text in. Poll question. Drew's first guest is Adam Sandler. Yes or no?
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
From Naples to Cape Coral and all of Southwest Florida. 105.9 Fox Sports Radio. We are Fox Sports.
I love what the fake sponsor has brought to this show because I get this text. This person has never texted the show before, David. There was a biker dive bar on Immokalee Road on the south side of the road where Saturnia Lakes is now. Sketchy during the afternoon. Can you ID this place? I can't remember it for the life of me. Thanks. I'm like, no, but I'm on it because I know who will know. Kevin Waldron. I have one friend who will know the answer to that.
Who is this DEDSTRK? I used to listen to them back in the day. Meanwhile, he's in our Twitch chat room and he's talking about us.
I don't know. I really don't know.
I love the fact that people are finding us now. We've been back for 3 years.
3 years.
That says a lot.
And I mean, we've actually had advertising, a lot of it. You know, because we were on that other place for a decade, David, and they never advertised once for us ever.
No.
We've been on we've been on the Masters. We've been on Championship. I mean, think of ads.
I know. We're out of circulation now, though. We're not getting in any 5-second spots now.
Well, I would beg him to do it right now with all the sports being on. But
look at you. I'm the man of the house. Southwest.
we didn't get a paper. We didn't get a column that said dead air. I mean, I will give you that.
Where it's always cool and comfortable. It's up to you now. It's up to you. Now, the best local sports show this town has ever heard. Here's Miller and Moulton.
You're live.
Not quite sure why Mark is howling in the background, but a couple of minutes past the final hour of Miller and Moulton for the day and the week. Hope your week has gone well. Thanks for being with us here on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live. We, Miller and Moulton, have a YouTube and a twitch.tv channel. Sign up for both. They are free. You get to interact with us throughout the show, and you get to hear what goes on during the commercial breaks. And we are also simulcast these days on the Landry Football Network, a 24/7 football channel exclusively to twitch.tv.
All right. I'm going to say something that I hope doesn't get me in too much trouble.
Oh, for goodness sakes, really?
I don't think it's anything that people don't already know. I don't think I'm breaking news here, if you know what I mean. But in Act 1, I was not the nicest person to callers. And I don't necessarily like callers on a talk radio show all the time. Sometimes they're good, but a lot of times I don't think they add a lot. When I listen to other shows and they go to callers, like when I listen to Pat's show and he goes to callers, I'll turn it off because they're on too long, in my opinion, and I don't think it adds to the show. Same with the Dan Patrick show. But I've got to admit, I love our texters. I absolutely love our texters. And I feel badly that I was not nice enough to the callers because the callers are now texters. And they're great. They are funny. I think because some of them aren't, and I can just not pay attention to those. But the ones that are good, unlike the callers, when a bad call comes on a radio show, we all hear it and we all have to deal with it. If a bad texter texts into a radio show, we don't have to worry about it. But it led to a text like this during the break, because as we did today was the day when David decided to go off on, well, David explained Kim Cattrall's story about the Sex and the City folks, and then that went on because David is not a Matthew Broderick fan because he killed the guy.
He killed two, actually. Mother and a daughter.
As all of these texts are coming in, because I had made a comment during the break that we've been running this ad for this Drew Barrymore show, and I'm like, yeah, how long? We're taking bets on how long the show is going to last. Someone text in, over, under, or next poll question, Adam Sandler going to be the first guest. That's funny.
It is.
True. But not as funny as this texter who just simply said, I think we should try to get Matthew Broderick on the show so David can ask him, have you ever killed a guy?
And he'd have to say, no, but I killed two women. But you know.
So I just want to say it. I'm not trying to be mean to the callers because I still at some point want to have a football phone call Friday in the next couple of weeks. I really do. But the texters,
they are bringing it.
Like you. I really like the texters.
We also, and we did it as a lark a couple of Fridays ago before we took a week off. I think it was the last Friday in July, in which we just started attaching sponsors who are no longer in business to all of the segments in our show, which currently don't have any sponsors. So it was a way to have some fun, go down memory lane, whether it be a national brand or a local company. But it also points out that, hey, for those of you with a business, if you want to attach your name to what we have, needless to say, plenty of good sponsorship opportunities available.
It's available. You can just step right into the chat room, the chat line, anywhere you want. We'll sell it to you.
So, but the suggestions that we have been getting as to some of your favorite places that are no longer in business and or national brands that are no longer in business have been tremendous. We've enjoyed it. Keep them coming.
And I apologize to all of you that have sent in places, because if I don't know it at all, I have trouble putting the sponsor on it because I just don't want to be inaccurate about a defunct restaurant, which makes no sense. But I love what's been coming because it's now gotten to different places and things like that. But then you get this text. There was a biker dive bar on Immokalee Road on the south side of the road where Saturnia Lakes is now. Sketchy during the afternoon. Can you ID this place? I can't remember it for the life of me.
It's
that right there. Because what the problem is now with the texters and my relationship with the texters, David, I'm going to spend 2 hours trying to find this out today. And at 8 o'clock tonight, I'm probably going to answer this guy.
Mark, I don't know if you'll need 2 hours. It's 6 minutes after the hour. I think we may get that answer before the commercial break. So thank you for the text. And, we'll do R&D for you too. I mean, it's a two-way street. All right. This is a two-way street. You do R&D for us. We can do a little R&D for you. I have been told it's the brass monkey, by the way. Buddy of mine in Naples just texted me and said it's the brass monkey.
All right. Hopefully that answers that question. And someone else just did say this text is exclusively for you, David. It is CC in East Naples.
Oh.
They just want to give you their exact location, their name, and their a proper location. They're not from Fayetteville. They're not from Timbuktu.
Right. Thank you. Your real name and your real location. Thank you. I don't feel that I'm asking a whole lot, but apparently I have been. 479-5551, 479-5551, the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line. Feel free, keep them coming. All right, on this Friday. You caught my angst or my admiration for Kim Cattrall 10 minutes ago because of her angst towards her fellow co-stars in Sex and the City. And that's something I can relate to. I can appreciate that. I'm going to turn down millions of dollars. I mean, easy. And especially since I'm the last holdout. I mean, I can just keep asking for more money. They can't make this movie without me. All right. And eventually they're going to meet my price. But I hate you guys so much. The thought of working with you three again, and particularly you, the short one over there, no way. Forget it. I don't need $5, $6, $10 million that badly. Sorry. I can respect that because there are certain people who have crossed my world in which I wouldn't cross the street for them, never mind $5, $6, $10 million. Mark, how do you think Barry Trotz felt yesterday?
Oh, man.
For those that don't follow hockey, all right, 2 seasons ago, the word was out that the Washington Capitals were going to move on from Barry Trotz, and they were going to move on with the guy who was standing next to him on the bench. He was coach in waiting. They didn't publicly announce it, but the whole world knew.
And I mean, the whole world knew, and knew by January, if you will, with a season that ends in June.
Right. And part of the reason was because while Trotz and them won a lot of games, they didn't go to the finals. They had never won the cup. Well, sure enough, what happens? Barry Trotz and a Capitals team that was not expected to have a deep playoff run has a deep playoff run and wins their first Stanley Cup. And of course, what does management do? Management then says to Barry Trotz, I know you have wanted for a year and a half now a contract extension. Well, you're going to get your wish. Here's the contract that you've been wanting. And Barry Trotz shook their hand and said, enjoy the cup, blank you. I'm out of here, and went to Long Island to coach the New York Islanders, who hadn't done much of anything for about 15 years. And what is he?
Just think about that. I want you to pause there for a second, David, because that is Miller and Moulton. Barry Trotz is someone that we should hold in a lot higher regard than we do.
I love Barry Trotz.
Yeah, but it's almost like he should have his own segment on this show type of love, because one, he's a great coach. And two, he told the Capitals where to, he basically did what the manager did in Major League to Dorn's contract. Threw it on the ground and wiped his bum with it.
Right.
That's,
yep.
And then took a leak at it. And he did it in real life.
Right. And he
After
did it
winning the Stanley Cup.
Right. I mean, all the, great emotion, and they go up to him. It's the morning of the parade, and they're like, here's what you've always wanted. We want you to stay. And Barry said, yeah, kiss mine. All right. I am out of here. I have been out of here for 6 months. You haven't wanted me. Well, I am long done with you guys. And they're like, you can't go. He's like, go? I got a deal in the drawer with the Islanders. What are you, nuts? All right. And so he goes and gets the contract that he always wanted with the Islanders. And Capitals get bounced in the first round of the playoffs last year without him. Oh, the Islanders, what did they do? They went to the second round of the playoffs with Barry Trotz. So now this year,
by the way, arguably the best GM in the sport. I mean, he left the Capitals to go work for Lou Lamoriello.
Right. Who's done more with less than anyone else in the sport.
He is arguably the best executive that's ever worked in the sport.
And so now this year, since the hockey gods have a sense of humor, they put Washington against the Islanders in the first round of the playoffs. And when we made our picks, I picked the Islanders and said, 1, I think it's a bad matchup for the Caps, but 2, the Islanders are much better coached. All right. And so when the Islanders won 4-1 against the Caps and beat them 4-0 yesterday, in hockey, what do they have? They have the handshake line. And here are all these Washington Capitals hugging Barry Trotz, hugging him. Love you. Okay. If you're going to lose to anybody, glad it was you. That sort of deal. And then Trotz gets to look in the eye the guy that management got rid of him essentially for. The replacement in waiting has to, walk over to Trotz. And Trotz is a short guy, and the replacement's a tall guy. And the tall guy, Reardon's got to look down at Trotz and shake his hand and go, congratulations, Barry. What do you think that moment is like for Barry Trotz? Don't we all want one of those moments in our life?
Well, absolutely. But I don't think that handshake was the moment for Trotz, because he likes that guy. He hired him as his assistant coach. It's not like they don't get along. It's the ownership. It's the general manager that Trotz wants to look at and just smile. There's a hockey night in Canada when they used to have Don Cherry on, when they do the coach's corner. They had this video montage, and there's one of Grapes on the bench with Boston where he kind of gives this little salute to the crowd. And that's what I thought Trotz would be doing to ownership and management of the Capitals yesterday. Just that little grab the collar and, ruffle the feathers a little bit and look at my 5'2", you know what? Because I just whooped your behind.
It's one of those moments when you're walking off the ice. You want to look up to that booth where you know the two Capitals executives are, and you want to wave at them like, "Hey, enjoy you're leaving the bubble tomorrow. Bye-bye. Have a good rest of your summer." Yeah.
I mean, I just picture Hertz Arena, and, Brush always sits in his thing, and being able to look up at him, just that look right there and go, hi. Absolutely. And they didn't just beat the Capitals. They whooped them.
They dominated them. Now, because of it, the guy who replaced him is about to be fired, which, as you said, Mark, he does, he liked the guy. He understands it was the business that, it wasn't the guy. It was the GM and the owner who wanted to move on from him. And, so they just got stuck in the middle of it. But that guy could not lose to Barry Trotz. And he did. And he lost resoundingly. And he's going to be fired because of it. So which moment's better, though, if you're Barry Trotz, telling them to stick it the morning of the Stanley Cup parade because you're going to the Islanders, or the handshake line yesterday? That's two pretty good moments.
The handshake had to be the respect of your former players is everything, David.
They were hugging him. There were players who hugged him. He hasn't been their coach for 2 years. They hugged him. Yeah. So just one of those little moments, now it is interesting. I will say, most of the players are shaking hands, but there are some that are just doing fist bumps. I mean, the coronavirus has impacted the handshake line.
Right. But they're inside the bubble, so they've still been doing it.
Right. Everyone's negative. Right. So, but still my favorite thing in sports. I love the handshake line. To me, my two favorite, sports is not happening. My two favorite moments in sports, the march on before the Army-Navy game. I get very emotional during that for both, whether it's Army marching on or Navy marching on. Okay, which most of you, it's televised on CBS Sports Network. Most people don't know it. Most people don't even know they have that network. If you could ever watch it, watch it. It's emotional if you're there. I don't know how much of the emotion actually jumps through the screen. But I have always felt that during the handshake line, announcers should not talk. Honestly, just give me the handshake line. These guys have been crushing each other. And to look the other in the eye and shake their hand and go, hey, well done. Good job. Go win it all. Or there's real angst between the teams. And for one team, this is worse than going to the dentist and getting 6 root canals. Like we've talked about back in the day. Imagine that, a generation ago. Do you know how painful it was when the Wings and the Lanch?
Well, some of them would skip Lemieux. Some of them wouldn't shake his hand.
Right. And
I don't think McCarthy shook his hand. He would literally go around him.
Martin Brodeur would not shake Sean Avery's hand of the Rangers. The couple of times they met in the playoffs, he had no respect for him, wouldn't shake your hand. Only player he wouldn't shake the hand for. Certain guys, Billy Smith, famed Islanders goaltender, didn't believe in the handshake line. And all of a sudden showed up for the handshake line for one playoff series because he wanted to shake the other goalie's hand. Because that goalie was so great in the series and they nearly upset the Islanders. And he wanted to look that guy in the eyes and say, hey, you were amazing. I love the handshake line.
I'm with you. I think the announcers should be more quiet. And I think that there should be an explanation by the director, quite frankly, David, of how to shoot it. Because I don't think American television shoots it right. I want to see what you're talking about. I want to know that if, McKinnon and whomever were going at it the whole series, I want to make sure I see those two guys shake hands. I don't need the wide shot. I want to be able to read lips. I want to see what's being said of the heated battles in those series. And I don't think that they give it its due. I'm definitely with you on that. But yes, the Islanders move on. That is the beauty of the story. The bad part is for the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Oh, boy.
Because this now means that the Lightning if you're a Bruins fan, because now the Lightning and the Bruins are playing in this round.
Yeah, the two best teams in the East are playing in the second round. So that's the only thing I think the NHL has done wrong in their rejoin here is they didn't allow the regular season point totals to count at all. Everything that you did before the bubble didn't count. And I think that like the NBA picked up the way the standings were, and Portland and Phoenix nearly did it, but they had to play their way in, and they didn't start from 0-0. They had to tack wins and losses onto, what they had already done. I actually thought that that's the one thing the NBA did right that the NHL did wrong. And because of it, instead of the Bruins and the Lightning being the 1 and the 2 seeds, which they undoubtedly would have been, now they ended up being in a place where they're going to meet in the second round. Now, Philly has to beat Montreal, and they're up 3-2. So if Philly beats Montreal, it'll be Philly against the Islanders, which will be intense but boring. And then it'll be the Bruins against the Lightning, which will be intense and exciting as hell.
We've had a lot of texting incidents on this show, David.
Incidents?
Yeah, where people, one guy was texting the old number.
Right.
Pissed off that we weren't responding to him and realized that he'd been texting the old text number because we changed it, 6-8 months ago? We got a new number. And so the guy's like, I've been texting the wrong number the whole time. But that was just outdone by this current texter who took a screenshot of his text to wifey because he thought he was texting us and he was texting his wife. And the text was, just Trot sticking it to the Caps management was probably almost orgasmic. Gave them the Miss America smiling wave. To which his wife responded, WTF, wrong thread, babe.
Who's Trot? Honey, should I be concerned about Trots?
My goodness, that's fantastic.
Well, I have text Gary Danielson and Andy Enfield both that I love them. All right. So, I understand sending the wrong text to the wrong person.
Gary, you better love Gary.
Oh, I do. I would take a bullet for Gary. But, I didn't. I believe I sent a heart emoji in both of those texts. Okay. My favorite, both of them pretty much responded with the same text that was like, love you too. The one text woke Andy up. Remember, it's a 3-hour time difference.
Right.
I sent it like
as she walked out the door. We're doing the show and sent the text.
Yep. She was going She was going to get a Starbucks and then to church. It was like 8:30 in the morning. It was 5:30 Andy time. It woke Andy up with that. Oh God! I mean, I like the guy, but this seems a little out of nowhere. Miller and Moulton. 21 minutes past the hour. The good, the bad, and the ugly is about 30 minutes away. Thanks for being with us. Don't forget our poll question. Takeout. What are you tipping? 0, 10, 15, or 20+%?
I just want to let all the texters know that I love them. You love your wife. I love the texters, David.
This second act is unbelievable.
And you know this is genuine, too. I'm not lying.
I know. No, you changed.
This is not sarcasm. This is nothing. This is true.
No,
I love our texters.
No,
you're the one that just said, shoot, I love Gary Danielson, too. You guys are on a roll today. I am loving it. I am absolutely loving this.
I'll tell you what. You forward that text to me, sir. I'll forward it to Gary.
I'm going to forward it to you right now. It's coming your way.
Miller and Moulton. Thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Oops, hang on. I think I have your number memorized. I got to make sure I got it right. Don't say it over the air, David.
Why? They may still give it out at the other place.
Well, it's true.
We will have a great victory. Our story continues and return to our lives, great lives. On Southwest.
All right, I'm going to get some coffee.
All right. I don't drink coffee, so I'm not going anywhere. Hello again, everybody.
Well, it just got sweeter. If your trade-in is less than 8 years, less than 80,000 miles.
I believe that business is still around, Foot Fan, but I don't believe Gary's a part of it.
Original base MSRP for it.
So.
Yeah.
So whatever that Hyundai, Kia, Toyota, Nissan
So,
was worth 5, 6, 7
but yes,
years ago,
I remember that.
it'll be worth
We were still over in our first act, and we would do a show a week there.
We'll take those too.
Yeah, for football season.
Brand new Nissan.
Gary would stop by and do the weekly interview. We had people just show up,
Backup camera. No.
just sit and watch.
Come on.
Meet Gary, shake his hand, that sort of deal.
Visit NaplesNissan.com for full
So,
details, or come see us on Pine Ridge Road and drive home in that brand.
I'm curious, do you feel the same way Mark does about callers into a radio show? Are callers a turnoff?
Pool doctor.
Hi, Dr. Mark here. Is your pool a pain?
I will say that a good caller really works, but anything less than a good caller, I think, is, as somebody said to me a long time ago, when I first started doing sports talk radio, and I had a good thing going in Fargo with it, but somebody said to me, "What's the name of your show?" And I said, "The David Moulton Show." And he said, "Exactly. We listen for you. We don't listen for the callers. You're a little too married to the callers." And I went, interesting. But
Superstars. Olympic silver medalist Emilio Sanchez and Arantxa Sanchez.
so, however, when we were starting up over at the other place, I mean, that was a lot of work. And so when somebody took the time to listen and to call, I always felt we need to, reward them. Hey, thanks for listening, that sort of deal. And so, yeah, I've always been more married to the callers than Mark. I will say, though, in the last 3 years especially, I've done a little more national radio, and I think Mark was right. Like gentleman in our Twitch chat room saying callers in short doses. Yeah. Like, the way Rush does it, open phone Friday. He doesn't take a lot of calls Monday through Thursday, but Friday, okay, I'll open up the phone lines. I'll take a lot more calls.
Commercials are sales scams, and the design is critical about sell you new ductwork.
Come on in and say hi to everybody. No.
Real experts are
Mark, I've been asking folks their thoughts on callers, and most of them agree with you.
for the sales scams and keep these scammers out of your act. NATE stands for North American Technician Excellence, and unless your air conditioning guy is a NATE certified mechanic, he's second best to us. The duct cleaning and duct sealing scams now
No, not Stevie's.
scams, and they're just sales scams to separate you from your money. You're clear of the hot air, I call it.
Oh,
Well,
John hated callers more than I did.
Yeah,
Like
Mark.
I've never liked callers on the air. John despises callers on the air. And the three of us would have lengthy
brawls.
Yeah, because David wanted every caller on, and you changed.
Mhm.
Not saying that you
I was
didn't
just
want callers,
I was explaining that.
because you were like Pat early on. You kept callers on a long time. Like get their point, get them off.
Yep. But also the early days over there, one, I was solo, and then two, we had to build our guest list. And so you didn't know when you were going to have a guest. You didn't know where that next phone call was coming from. We didn't really have a text line for the first probably half of our tenure over there.
You're live.
"27 minutes past the hour, the good, the bad, and the ugly, in a little more than 20 minutes time. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live on the Miller and Moulton YouTube and Twitch.tv channels. Sign up for them. They are free. We would appreciate it. 479-5551 is how you can continue to text in on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line, 239-479-5551. Having an ongoing discussion during the commercial break about your thoughts as listeners to callers into talk radio. And so I find this R&D fascinating, because it's one thing for the host. To me, Mark, this is kind of like politicians need to get out of the beltway and need to actually talk to the constituents. I mean, if you think about it, we're hosts, but who are we doing the show for?
The
audience.
Hey,
so why don't you ask the audience?
Yeah, I have the one thing about Twitch that I think David and I have both enjoyed, and I know that we're on this new format, so you can see a lot better, is the instant reaction. And it's been funny because in the Twitch chat room, sometimes they're having their own conversation while we're doing a show.
Right.
And I've caught you. I know I've done it. And I've caught you doing it. You start looking over going, what is it they're talking about over there? And it has nothing to do with the show at that point.
Right. That drives me nuts. That's kind of like going out to dinner with another couple. Okay. No, seriously. No. Okay. And the guys start talking about one thing and the women start talking about something else. All right. We've got a little, during this pandemic here, as I've talked about, my wife and I are not leaving the house much at all. Obviously, in 3 weeks, my life's going to change drastically and I'm going to be out of the house a lot. But up until then, I'm damn near quarantined. But one thing that we've started to do is Saturdays, late mornings, Mark, that we have brunch with my mother-in-law. Now, she comes over the house and we're all, 6, 8, 10 feet apart from one another. But we go get takeout and we have brunch together. And I would say that my mother-in-law, who I'm very fond of, and she's over for about 2.5 hours. Now, it is my wife, my mother-in-law, and me. During that 2 to 2.5 hours, how many minutes into the 120 to 150 do you think I'm no longer needed?
6.
There's food involved early. Right. So, yeah.
You get the first half hour where you're part of the conversation.
Bingo.
And shortly after a half hour, you're not needed. You might totally start going on Twitter or go watch a show.
I really could kiss the both of them on the cheek and I could leave. Absolutely. All right. Absolutely. And I kind of feel that way when, you now are in charge of the text line and you and I both can see inside the chat rooms going on via Twitch and I think even YouTube. And yes, when they all of a sudden, to me, that's like when my wife and mother-in-law start having a conversation and I feel like, what am I doing over here? Just okay. All right. Are you guys going to get upset if I turn the game on? Or do I have to leave the room and go in another room and turn the game on? And by the way, since you two have ignored me, don't get upset when I leave the room, just so you know. So they wanted me to stay a couple weeks ago, so I did, and I fell asleep on them.
You fell asleep on them?
Oh yeah.
And then with no machine, do you snore during the day when you fall asleep on the couch?
Hello? Yeah. All right. Yeah. In fact, that's when they were then deciding who makes more noise, the nearly 9-year-old English bulldog or the middle-aged guy.
I'm going to go dog close.
It is. And you know what? It's exactly. And you know why it was? Because the dog was on its side. The dog was in prime snoring position. I was only slightly reclined.
It's funny you say that, David, because Frank, my dog, is older now and he makes a lot of noise, so much so that when he sleeps in bed occasionally, my wife thought it was me.
There you go.
Snoring, and it was actually the dog. And she woke up and videoed the two of us in bed, basically making the same exact noises.
Right. I enjoy it when we're both a second apart. So it's animal, person. When you're doing it at the same time, you don't really know who's louder. You don't fully appreciate everyone's snore. It's best when we can, get into a rhythm. The kind of Sonny and Cher. Hey, I got you, babe. I got you, babe.
Wow.
That sort of deal.
That's excellent, David. That's excellent. I was thinking more Peaches and Herb. You went Sonny and Cher, and I like you for it.
I was thinking a good duet, Mark. A good duet. Although, boy, they did have their moment, as apparently every group did in the 70s. Well, because as a nation, we did a lot of drugs. So everybody got their 15 minutes musically in the 70s. Whoo-wee. On that note, 479-5551, 479-5551 on the Williamson Brothers Marine and Roofing text and talk line.
A couple of the sports things we've been talking about today. One, the Tampa Bay Rays are in first place.
There you go. Not the Yankees, not the greatest baseball team assembled since the 27 Yankees. That's all I heard during the offseason. This is the deepest Yankees team ever. These guys are better than the core 4 teams that won 4 out of 5. Hell, these are this group is better than the 70s Yankees. That's all I've heard. That's all I've heard. Somebody forgot to look at their starting pitching. It was Garrett Cole and a bunch of question marks. Sorry, that's what it is. We don't know if Tanaka, you're going to get good Tanaka, bad Tanaka. You're going to get healthy Tanaka, not healthy Tanaka. James Paxton, really? A number 2 starter on a good team? I don't know. This ain't the Seattle Mariners anymore, okay? No, it's a good team. No. You know what he is? He's a talented 4. That's what he is. Give me a break. You got Garrett Cole and a bunch of question marks.
And with the injuries hitting the Yankees, as they're pretty beat up, someone pointed out in the Twitch chat room, David, that the series being canceled against the Mets might be perfect timing for the Yankees because they are banged up right.
Yes, they are. And they could use a few days off. Absolutely.
The problem is they could use a few days off, but what do you get for missing a series? You're going to get 3 doubleheaders on top of it.
I will say, if I'm Brian Cashman, and I do feel badly for Cashman in this sense, because I do think he has the deepest roster in the sport. That I do. I mean, his bench is terrific. His bench could make the playoffs. Honestly. Never mind, they've got guys that they've sent to their, who are not worthy of traveling with the team right now. And they got 2 or 3 guys that are there who could flat out start for some teams in this league. I mean, they're deep everywhere except starting pitching, but their injuries, Mark, this is the 3rd year in a row. And the Yankees got rid of their whole training staff. They got rid of all the strength and conditioning. They blamed it on their trainers and the strength and conditioning people. They got rid of all of them. Well, guess what? They're all getting hurt again. Stanton, Judge, all right, Torres, you name it. Guys are going down again. Chapman, all right, now Britton, who was closing and pitching really well, he's on the IL. I mean, they cannot stay healthy.
Nope. No, they cannot.
3 years in a row. I mean, they're having so many injuries. They're like a football team. It's amazing the number of injuries that they are having.
So that's kind of where we are baseball-wise. Your Tampa Bay Rays in first place. The Heat win yesterday. They go up 2-0. Dragic played really well. Butler was good, but Dragic was terrific in that game as they take a 2-0 lead on the Pacers and are in charge of that series. The number 1 seeds last night both showed up and just kicked the crap out of the teams they were playing. Orlando was nothing for Milwaukee last night, and the Lakers just dominated the Trailblazers. So Barkley's prediction of a sweep ended with that one last night.
Good news if you're a Lakers fan, LeBron didn't play all that well last night. He won by 23. Also, Lillard hurt. Granted, it's his non-shooting hand, but he dislocated his left index finger. I mean, he's going to play. We'll see if it affects him. I would like to think it would have minimal effect, but he did get hurt.
Find it interesting because I don't watch a lot of NBA during the season. I don't think anybody in this market really does. We proved that. But yesterday, watching 3 or 4 games in a row, watching all the commercials, and I get that you get Lillard to do the Hulu. Hulu's kind of going, they got Baker Mayfield, and they've done different people, so they got Lillard doing the Hulu ad. Okay, he's a star, but he's in Portland. It's an unusual star. But the Joel Embiid Mountain Dew ads, like Mountain Dew said, we're going to get Embiid. That's our guy. The ads are terrible, and he's not a star. He's a star name only, right?
Well, once again, star is different than superstar. All right. They're both stars. All right.
Well, these are basketball ads, so people know who they are.
Right.
And it's just, like I said, I've not watched a lot of NBA where I'm locked in. And yesterday I was pretty locked in for both early games, like the Heat game and the Thunder game. I pretty much had the sound on and was watching interested. And I was just kind of like, this is where you're going for ads. Okay. I mean, I'm old. I'm an old white guy. I'm not their demo. I'm going to be 51 years old. So I'm not the NBA's demo. It's a city league. It's more urban, but I was kind of miffed that Embiid's the guy you go after Mountain Dew. That's the guy you think that's going to sell you pop? Okay.
Well, and Joel Embiid's life is going to get a lot more difficult here in the next few months for this reason. that Embiid at first was the guy, hey, boy, if he's talented and if he could just stay healthy. And he got healthy and then he finally played. And he was the lovable, young, up-and-coming, exciting player. Great personality, but the team was losing. And then the team started winning and he was their best player. So he got what? He got credit because he's still the likable, lovable, big smile, great smile guy. And he does nice things for people also. I mean, it's tough not to like Joel Embiid. Then all of a sudden, there came some expectations with the Sixers. Now, people forget last year, they lost in 7 to the Raptors on literally the last second shot by Kawhi in Game 7. I mean, they were a shot away from forcing overtime in Game 7. I mean, for all we know, the Sixers could have gone to the finals last year. But looking back, that may be the closest this group of Sixers ever gets to doing whatever it is they're going to do. Because now this year, they're going to go out in the first round quietly to the Celtics. Ben Simmons is hurt. He's likely going to be traded. And the only one left from the good young core that they had put together 2 years ago is going to be Joel Embiid. They're going to get rid of his coach. They're going to get rid of all the players around him. Mark, what then happens when that's the case?
Well,
it all falls
on him.
Joel Embiid.
It's all on him. And there are rumors out there that maybe that's one scenario. There's another scenario out there that they're going to deal him.
You know, remember, and as somebody pointed out in our chat room, they had Jimmy Butler last year. They lose Butler to free agency. Simmons is hurt this year. You look at where they were a year ago and how close they were. Also, they had Jimmy Butler and J.J. Redick on last year's team. Neither on this year's team. And now the pressure is going to be on him. And he's one of the few prominent athletes. Zion's another one. You know, Baker Mayfield went and got himself in shape this offseason. There are a few players out there in which you can legitimately say, you know, you got to get your you-know-what in shape. You know, that's not an issue in pro sports anymore. Everybody's working out and, you know, they're finely tuned athletes and they all got trainers and all this. Well, there's every now and then you got like, you know, 5 guys in which you can go, you know, he's kind of pudgy. He needs to lose some weight. He needs to get his you-know-what in shape. That was more of a thing 20, 30, 40 years ago. Embiid's still one of those guys this year. All right. Life's going to get a lot more difficult for Joel Embiid in about 6 months because he's going to be the guy. He's going to be the focal point, and there will be no one else to deflect any blame. And they ain't going to win either. So he's going to get surly. I'm telling you, Embiid's going to end up being Barkley in Philadelphia. In about 2 years, he's going to be very unhappy. He's going to want out.
Tiger shot a 3-under yesterday at the Northern Trust. He tees off this afternoon at around 20 after 1. Bubba Watson tied for the lead. He's playing early this morning. He and Charles Howell III are at 8 under in the early scoring. It's a typical PGA Tour event where there are 64 people within 4 shots of the lead.
Right.
I mean, we mentioned this earlier. Golf has worked for the pandemic has worked for golf.
Boy, has it ever.
There's no fans at the events, and we missed out on some great moments, whether it was JT's putt, Morikawa dunking it on top of him, Morikawa's great drive on 16 at the PGA. But David and I are of the belief the play is very, very good, largely because there is no crowd.
Now, it has been pointed out by a few people, hey, they have gotten largely softer conditions also coming out of the pandemic, and that's true. All right. Also, the first 5 courses they played were some of the shorter courses that were on tour, so you combined, you know, no length with softness and with how good these guys are. I mean, as many of the golfers pointed out, we had 3 months to get our swings together.
And it is the one thing that we've been doing during the pandemic. Florida, right. We played golf, and these guys all live in Florida.
Right. They're all in Orlando. I mean, they can go hit balls. They can go play.
They were playing every day if they wanted to.
So, but yes, golf from a rating standpoint, though, and remember, Tiger's only played once, really. Well, he's technically played twice, but the ratings without Tiger, I mean, golf doesn't rate without Tiger. golf's been winning the weekends here for a while, going up against baseball, basketball, hockey, racing. Racing did well early. Racing's still doing pretty well. All right. But golf's doing really well. Really well. It's working. And we wondered, Mark, how would the sports fans sitting at home, how would we feel about certain sports without fans on TV? Would we be okay with the fake crowd noise? Would we be okay with no crowd noise? They're not trying to pipe in noise in golf.
By the way, are you okay with the fake crowd noise during the games?
I am. I'm fine with it.
I think it's better. If it were silent, look, we'd all love to hear the players cursing at one another. We would, but they're not going to give us that. They can't. But I laughed so hard. The first tournament that came on the PGA, they're at the Colonial. And Nance says whatever he says, and there's a silence, and they go to the course, and the first guy, and the first thing that you hear on the air is a guy dropping an F-bomb.
Yep. A
about his
sarcastic joke.
lie or whatever.
Right.
And Nance goes, well, I wish we wouldn't have heard that. And I mean, that was the first words of a sporting event was an F-bomb getting dropped on CBS. So they're not going to do that. And I'm with you, David. I'm fine with the crowd noise.
Yeah. I'm also fine.
Really weird at first when it was talked about, but once the game started happening, you're like, all right, whatever.
I'm also fine though with golf. They're not piping in anything, and it's fine.
We like those conversations. We love hearing caddy golfer conversations. That's good stuff.
It's fine. So I can go with it either way. I think the cardboard cutouts are cute. Okay, I do. But
the fact that the Weekend at Bernie's guy was at 1 in Kansas City,
and he's also at Dodger Stadium. He's behind the plate.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other one that they have some stuffed bears in the stands, and yesterday a bear took a hard line drive to the head, and the Action Network retweeted it and said graphic content here.
Right.
Be advised, and it's this stuffed bear just getting tattooed by a line drive.
Now the big test comes: football. Especially since in a lot of places they're going to have crowds, albeit small. So if you're the network, you're going to pump in crowd noise on top of crowd noise? Or are you just going to have to live with the 20%, 22%, 18 to 25,000 people, if you know what I mean? And I think they are. I don't think they're going to put crowd noise in on top of small crowd noise. I do think NFL will be fine. College football will be different. I mean, college football is about the pageantry. It is. And if you go and watch an old game, I'm telling you, a lot of crowd shots, a lot of cheerleader shots, band shots, the whole deal.
They love the cheerleaders. They do. Yeah. They come back from so many breaks.
Right.
With the male cheerleader holding the female cheerleader in the air. That's a go-to shot for these networks.
And I don't think there will be any cheerleaders on the sidelines. I don't know if there will be sideline. I'm hearing for the NFL, I don't know if there will be sideline reporters on the sidelines at these games. I don't know where they're going to be. But, early indications are that they're not going to be on the sidelines. Now, I think they are for college. That's what I'm hearing. So it'll be different, be interesting. 20 days away though. Chiefs Texans, 3 weeks from yesterday.
The pandemic has really taken away from David's countdown. We used to get days from 99 in every day to start the show, and the pandemic has pretty much ended the countdown.
Well, we don't give a college countdown because we
have no idea when it starts.
No. And let's face it, that's a little more precarious, we think, than any other sports league right now. We feel pretty confident, though, about the NFL. We've been given an NFL countdown for about 5 weeks now. So 20 days, Chiefs and Texans. Miller and Moulton. Good, bad, and ugly. To put this Friday edition to bed, a reminder, our poll question, when you're ordering your takeout, what are you tipping? Nothing? 10%, 15%, 20+%. I believe 10 and 15% are battling it out right now. And Nothing is, either you're all a bunch of liars or, you know what? Good for you. All right. Way to go. A little something for the effort. Absolutely. Absolutely. My answer was 15%. Mark, what was yours?
I am a 10%er normally. I have been much higher during the pandemic. I've always been a 10% to go tipper, but as a lot of people have pointed out, usually I'm about a 10% guy. I've been 15 or 20 during the pandemic because 2020.
Miller and Moulton. That's where you can go to vote on our poll question, millermoulton.com, or that Mark Miller or the David Moulton on Twitter. Good, Bad, and Uglies next. Thanks for being with us. Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
Welcome to the program.
Memphis Tom, you are so right. Chipper Jones' cardboard cutout at Citi Field is spectacular.
Marlins, and now with the Cardinals,
Awesome.
we're not gonna have
There should be 3 cutouts at Citi Field. Chipper Jones, Mike Schmidt, and Willie Stargell.
They don't care about the regular season.
No 3 guys tortured that franchise more.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekdays at 9 a.m. on Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.
And Chipper, by the way, had nothing to do with the cutout because he was asked about it and he laughed. He said, I'd love to take credit for it, and I think it's funny. I mean, he did name one of his kids Shea, I believe, after Shea Stadium. So
it wasn't just your buddy that's weird?
No, my best friend, yeah. Who, Shea, my godson's now in college. He went to college last week. But yes, so I called, let's see, Shea was how old? Maybe 6 or 7 when they left Shea Stadium and moved to Citi Field. And I called him up and said, so you're going to change his name to Citi? He was genuinely pissed at me. I thought that was funny.
I think it's one of the better lines I've ever heard.
I mean, and I said to him, as only a best friend can, hey, you were dumb enough to name him after a stadium. And,
it's Frank for Center for Men's Health. During these stressful times,
he goes, well, I only gave him it as his middle name. I go, yeah, but that's all you guys call him. You don't call him by his first name.
The police have surrounded the Big Ten offices. The people are all. Tony Girdman from Ohio just tweeted that the police have basically surrounded. Police have shut the streets down around the Big Ten office. They're trying to get a Zoom call with parents. That's their goal. All right, now I got to find some stories for this flipping.
Well, we could give this live update though at some point. Tell you what, throw that in after you do the good, bad, and ugly.
A good bike ride are all the sights you see along the way. So when David and I both developed turns out some of the best Cadillac surgeons.
It's pretty good. Good job, Euro. I like these today. I don't have any work to do. Thank you. I got 3 good ones. And it was not the Brass Monkey, everybody. It was not the Brass Monkey. That is not the name of the dive bar. I've got the name. It is Jersey Joe's. I've had 2 different people text the line that one of them actually.
The coronavirus is so tiny, 100 million particles fit on the head of a pin. As we run around in our trucks and cars and play golf and go fishing and go to work and do the things.
This guy says it's the Brass Monkey, but I've got on pretty good here. Jersey Joe's. The guy says Saturnia Lakes became witness protection program for New York mobsters. Really? That's fantastic.
That's outstanding.
But it makes sense that you would go Naples for a witness protection program.
75,000 frameless shower doors installed. No one has more experience and.
Oh, there were a lot of mobsters down here in the day. A lot of mobsters.
#1 by readers of the News Press and Naples News for 17 consecutive years.
I mean, when all the drugs were coming out of
Lee County's Manufacturer of the Year. Want to see more? Go to myshowerdor.com.
Everglades City.
Fire threatens everything in its path. When it threatens our nation and our communities, we respond. We bring the fight to the front line. The Army National Guard stands ready to face the dangers of Mother Nature and protect our homes and our neighbors. We will always be there when your community needs us the most. Discover more
So
about
Jacob
all
thought
the
he had it,
serve part-time in your community.
tested negative, still thinks he has it. He goes, I don't know what to tell you. I've had a fever. I'm sore. My throat's sore. He went to work yesterday with gloves and a mask on, and his boss sent him home.
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing this? Because I think I have it. I don't know what to tell you. I'm sick.
This is Mark Miller's Good, Bad, and Ugly on Fox Sports Radio. You're live.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly brought to you today by Jersey Joe's in Naples. Shady even during the day. That's the answer that someone wanted to find the dive bar. I've got on very good sources that it was Jersey Joe's, not the Brass Monkey. So I had to change this at the very end. First, for the good, we go to Utah, where a young woman was rappelling down Sugarloaf Mountain and got tangled in her gear. She was stuck dangling from the side of the cliff. And the man she was with called out for help. To the rescue, the Dixie State football team. They were practicing. And the players grabbed a rope, pulled her, while the other team members went to the bottom of the cliff in case she fell. Head coach Paul Peterson estimates she was stuck there for 45 minutes before his team pulled her to safety.
Already got their first win of the year.
Damn right they did. That's pretty darn good. For the bad, we go to Dublin, Ireland, where Harry Key is in a little trouble with Dad. He ordered $35 worth of McDonald's fries to be delivered to the family home on his dad's phone.
How much?
$35 worth of fries.
Okay.
9 orders of fries. His explanation? He was feeling a bit hungry. Mom laughed it off. Post went viral. It's been viewed over 100,000 times.
You don't think maybe he's dabbling in a little something on the side, do you? Had the munchies?
I don't really think the 3-year-old had the munchies. Maybe. Never know. Never know if the edibles were left out by Mom. And finally, the ugly, we go to Monroe County, Florida, where Rena Patel Sanders is an attorney. And she was driving her Lexus SUV in a high-speed chase down US 1 while name-dropping celebrities and demanding pizza. She didn't stop when a deputy turned his lights and siren on. The defendant almost crashed at one point, then fishtailed. The deputy managed to box in her vehicle, held her at gunpoint. They smelled alcohol, shockingly, and she cursed at deputies, name-dropping actors, adding that she fled from the deputy because she was scared, and then she asked when she could return to her hotel. When she told she was going to jail on a litany of charges, she said no and insisted that we get pizza.
Well, it's a nice try. Where are you going? Jail? I don't think so.
I want a pizza. That, David, is the good, the bad, and the ugly on today, this August 21st in the year of 2020.
We have a developing story, ladies and gentlemen. All week long, there have been parents who have been saying, we're going to visit the Big Ten offices on Friday. We're bringing our hand-delivered letters. Well, apparently there's enough people coming or planning to come, or the Big Ten is worried enough that police are surrounding the Big Ten office building to keep folks away.
That's right. They have blocked off the Big Ten office. Police.
I mean, you'd think it's the Michigan State Capitol or something.
Tony Girdman, who covers Ohio State, said police have shut the streets down around the Big Ten office. Randy Wade's goal today is to be granted a Zoom call between parents, school presidents, ADs, and Kevin Warren. He then tweeted out a few minutes later that parents are starting to roll in, but no big gatherings yet. You'll have to follow this on Twitter because I'm guessing the Big Ten Network is probably showing Penn State highlights right now.
Yeah, they're not going to televise this, Mark.
No, it's either Nebraska highlights, Maryland basketball highlights, or Penn State football highlights from the 70s, probably on the Big Ten Network right now.
Now, if this was Los Angeles, there'd be a chopper, and they'd break into local programming for it. That is the only thing the Pac-12 has over the Big Ten. They love their riots, and they love their car chases. Anything to get that helicopter up in the air. Let's go.
Miller and Moulton. Have a spectacular weekend. Dan Patrick Show's next on Fox Sports Radio. Even though Dan's not there.
Presents the new spicy Western.
And it's unlistenable without him.
Monday.
Giro, you too. Thank you, man.
Charbroiled beef, crispy bacon and onion rings, and topped with tangy barbecue.
Thank you, Johnny, Juan, Memphis Tom, Arch, all of you. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
Really
Thanks for
appreciate it.
listening. Have a great weekend. I'm going to take a big fat nap.
All righty then.